Good evening, everyone. We are back once again, officially almost a day early, I think, shy of the 20th anniversary of Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. There are a number of videos on the channel that I've done regarding Revenge of the Sith, including one from just a couple of months ago, actually. I don't know why they released the film that early, because it was just shy of the 20th anniversary. We're a day early with this, but we were in discussion. We were trying to think of new ideas of stuff that we can do regarding Revenge of the Sith. We were going to have just sort of this whole just big talk about it, the movie, the video game, the book and everything. And then we had the idea of comparing and contrasting the novelization novel by Matthew Stover. I'm just going to bring up this image. JX has supplied all the images for tonight, by the way, and he's done a wonderful job of it. Nothing will stop the review of the Sith. So yeah, we'll be talking about the novelization by Matthew Stover and just doing a bit of a compare and contrast with the actual movie. I actually wasn't aware of this until you told me. The novelizations of all of these Star Wars movies are based on earlier drafts, earlier concepts from the original script of George Lucas. So
that's how they start, because the books have to come out before, right before the movie does, or right after the movie does. So the movie can't be out when it's written. So the first thing they get is the script, and then as the book, you can tell there are parts in this where things were changed in editing, so things that had been written in needed to be removed or recontextualized.
Right. Yeah, and yeah, you mentioned this to me. So this piqued my interest because I know that the novel came out before the movie. The video game came out a long time before the movie, I think, as well. So
or two.
Yeah, I mean, if you got to that early, then there are even scenes in that you'd be probably really buzzed to see in the final movie that when you get to the final movie wouldn't be there at all. So yeah, we're going to talk about everything in between, really. So, shall we begin? We've broken this down into different sections. So we're going to be talking about new scenes that are exclusively in the novel, then ones that are slightly extended or just tweaked a little bit in the final movie. And then probably by the end of this, we're just going to be doing an overall opinion as to whether we prefer the book, whether we prefer the movie, or whether they're both good on their own merits. So I think our first section is going to be new scenes then, isn't it? Is that our first section we're going to be talking about here?
Do we want to start with new scene?
Or scene extensions, okay, sorry. Scene extensions is going to be
very different.
I'm going by your notes here. Sorry, my bad.
You've got it. It's so confusing. It's like you've thrown me in some sort of net of confusion. I don't know how to express it.
Can't put my finger on it right now. Let's continue.
All right. So scene extensions. As we said, they started with the script, but this being, a book where they don't have to limit it to 2 hours, they don't have to cut things down. The dialogue, you can tell some parts are where it's okay, they clearly just trimmed this down when editing, but then there are sections where you're okay, they've added whole sections here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for example, bring up the image again.
Yeah, so this was one that always stuck out in my mind. So this is actually from the... this isn't even on the DVD, as far as I'm aware, in the deleted scenes section. This can be found, I want to say, exclusively on the video game for Revenge of the Sith. Yep. Right before the boss battle with Dooku on the Invisible Hand, we get this wonderful bit of dialogue from Christopher Lee. It says, "Just because there are two of you, do not presume you have the advantage." And I always really like that line. I think, actually, when I got to the video game, I think I did buy it on launch, but I don't have this sort of massive knowledge of playing the game before seeing the movie. I'm pretty sure I would have seen the movie first before playing the game. And even back then, you'd watch the film so many times that you just know every line, every sound effect, every cue of music in your mind. And then that new scene comes on and you're like, whoa, 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 hang on a minute, rewind it. What was that? I haven't seen that before. And yeah, it was really cool. I can totally see why that line of dialogue was removed. It is in the novel, but I can understand why it was removed because, taking the new context of Clone Wars out of this and just observing it on the two films that we have, Episode 2 and Episode 3, there was two of them last time
when they
took
context.
Yeah, they took on Dooku, both of them, two of them last time, and it didn't go too well for them. So the line is incredibly redundant and contradictory. So I could totally see why it got rid of. Yeah.
It does come off a bit as just a response to "You won't get away this time, Dooku."
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, just because there are two of you, do not presume you're the advanced. Oh.
I mean, it's great because it's Christopher Lee, and we get more Christopher Lee dialogue, and it makes me wonder, like, oh, I wonder if did they shoot any of this other stuff? I'm guessing if there was a lot more of the stuff that is in the novel regarding this Dooku fight, then that probably would have found its way onto the DVD. I would imagine.
Yeah, I doubt there's that much. Yeah, like there. I mean, with all these AI videos, there's actually like a guy who's creating scenes. Not great, but I appreciate the effort. Using AI to create like dialogue scenes from this book. Like, for example, there's a I won't get too into it, but because that's not this section, but there's a new scene right before right before the fight with Dooku, which is also sort of replaces a lot of the stuff on the Invisible Hand, which we also won't talk about this section. However, what we will talk about this section is before the Invisible Hand, when they're flying to the to the ship, the General's command ship. It's dead ahead. Which one is it? There are so many ships dead ahead. It's the one crawling with vulture droids.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that was in there?
I don't know. So this opening section, I mean, this section goes on for a long time. I think you actually showed me in the novel, you sort of pinched the pages to show just how much of the Invisible Hand section is taken up within this story. This scene was going to be vast. This was going to go on for a long time, and we kind of knew that anyway, based on some of the deleted scenes that are actually on the DVD. Some scenes that we'll talk about later. You've got the Shark T stuff, and you've got like an escape through the sewer system or the fuel system or whatever it is. This scene was packed, and when you get to the novel, it's even more packed. There's even longer monologues, more setup, and especially that initial approach to General Grievous's ship went on for a very long time. I actually appreciate the brevity of it in the movie, but what I did really like actually was the oh, I guess that's a new scene, maybe, rather than an extension, but we get more of a... Yeah, there you go. Look at that. So all of that is Invisible Hand stuff before we even get back to Coruscant. What I did appreciate, though, was maybe...
Well, we start off in Coruscant.
Yeah, maybe filling in some of the blanks, some might consider plot holes, maybe. Why have they only sent Anakin and Obi-Wan on this mission? Why can't they just call for... Yeah, why can't they call for backup? And they do give explanations for that. So all of that was really cool to see. I think we have a bit more camaraderie between the clones as well in that initial moment. There seems to be more brothers in arms feel to it. Yes. Yeah.
His name is Oddball, and we hear Ewan McGregor say that with his elegant British voice.
Mm-hmm.
And it still feels weird to this day.
Not as odd as the old folks' home from Attack of the Clones. I still don't understand how that made it into the final movie, but here we are.
I forgot about that. Yeah, no, yeah. R4, Channel 5 to Coruscant, care of the old folks' home.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's always
really?
been bizarre. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a gross number of pages that take up the Invisible Hand, by the way.
I did actually
know what that means.
I did start making notes on this chapter. Let me just try and find some of my old notes on this. I quickly stopped because it was a very stacked section of the book.
I know.
So
I did the same thing in my notes.
During chapter 1, I have there's just more back and forth during the space fight between Anakin and Obi-Wan. Oh, this is cool. There's a mention as well that Palpatine was guarded by Star Sally and Shark T before his abduction. And there was loads of these little things sort of going off in my mind where... So I'm a big fan of the 2D version of Clone Wars. That's the one that I grew up with, Volume 1 and Volume 2 on DVD. That is my Clone Wars. I'm not a big fan of the computer animated series. And I was actually shocked to learn that there was quite a lot of references in this novel, sort of sprinkled throughout, but they're consistent.
References to it, but also a lot of things that change it.
Yeah.
Like they
you
talked
can
about
understand.
when Padme got Anakin's braid, and it's just
Oh,
like
that's
how
a good point.
he handed it to her. It
Yeah,
was like it's the first thing he ever technically owned that was actually his, and
yeah,
it's just like no, no, no. She got it in a box that was presented to her by 3PO, and then she looked at it, R2 and was like, hmm. And then she gave R2 to Anakin by doing this in a hologram. And I gotta say, it's a lot better in the book than that. It took me a few watches to even know that's what was going on in the 2T Clone Wars.
there is so much contradiction across the board in Star Wars that I've just stopped being angry about it now, and it's kind of
yeah, this is the right headset. This is the right mentality for that.
I've finally arrived there.
Yeah, it's good.
It's like when I went to see all the X-Men films. I love the X-Men films, even some of the shit ones too. And I was just like, yeah, this really isn't going to follow on from the previous one. I'm just going to go and watch this as a separate entity and just have fun for a couple of hours. And that's where we're at now.
At best.
Yeah.
Deadpool 1, when he gets dragged off, and they're like, "We take you to see Professor." And he's like, Patrick Stewart or McAvoy? The timeline is really confusing. Which, yeah, it is.
But there's other mentions throughout as well. I'm just going to throw all these out now while we're talking about Clone Wars. But Dirge is mentioned by name.
He was like the greatest Jedi killer before Grievous.
But he's like this crazy, like proper anime character, isn't he? He's like something out of Akira. His body morphing, and very, very strange. But I always took to that character. I thought he was really cool. Do you remember when he does speeder bike jousting?
Yes, I do remember when he does speeder bike jousting. How could I forget when he does speeder bike jousting?
Fucking great. I always loved Dirge, so he's mentioned.
What the fuck did he do speeder bike jousting?
Asajj Ventress is mentioned too, I think, at one point in the book.
Yes. Yeah, no, a couple times. When because so there are a lot of references to other things throughout the EU. You know, there's when Anakin is killing the kids in the temple. This is a scene extension, so I can mention it here. When Obi-Wan sees the younglings being killed, the child that runs in specifically says it's the kid that Yoda rescues from Vijun in the book Dark Rendezvous, which has that awesome scene where Yoda falls to the dark side for like a second, and Dooku's like, "Oh, you could destroy the universe."
But yeah, it's interesting to sort of see the history of
Ventress has been in other things. No, Ventress was in a number of other books, including a thing where she met Anakin again, and like hits him in the face with a rock again. But I think canonically in Legends, she was killed by Obi-Wan.
Right. It's interesting to plot the history of the character, because I know that all the way back to Attack of the Clones, when they were trying to come up with a villain, there was like this female Sith assassin character they were playing around with, which for that movie, which became Count Dooku, but then that idea bled through and probably went into Asajj Ventress. There's also another reference to Clone Wars, probably not as direct as that, but I did get a kick out of it. And I'm so glad that this wasn't in the movie, but I'm also like, you fucking cowards, like, put it in the movie. Do you know where I'm going with this?
Let me think.
It's okay. It's how Count Dooku enters the battle with Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Oh, when he like jumps down and like makes himself sort of float down.
Yeah, so in the movie he does the really awkward CGI double front flip off the balcony. In the novel,
which Rick Berman says is actually him in the commentary.
But in the novel, similar to the Clone Wars, he has the power of levitation and he floats the fuck down off that balcony. Now, I would love to see Christopher Lee on wire work just floating, but it's like the helicopter lightsabers in like Kenobi and stuff with the Inquisitors. I'm like, do it, you fucking cowards. If it's gonna be in there, commit to it 100%. But I mean, there's probably
in VR. It's a pain in the ass.
There's some other references to some like trials that Anakin went through and stuff, but I think that could just be referring to other missions. I don't think it's referring to like those big blue
He
bear
didn't go
things
through
with
the
the arms.
trials.
Yeah. I have a line that I made a note of from this first chapter, which I thought was ridiculous but kind of fun. This is during the back and forth banter between Anakin and Obi-Wan, and Anakin says, "Lunch at Dex's said I'll blast 2 for each of yours. R2 can keep score." I'm like, yes, Dexter Jetster lives on into episode 3. Fuck yes.
Anakin, this is serious. All right, dinner then.
I just love that lunch at Dex's has been normalized between these two. So, you know, hey, we've got an hour before we need to attend to the Outer Rim Sieges conference. Like, do you want to go grab lunch at Dex's?
I thought you'd never ask, or it's just like they've just like they've just fought off the siege. They're like, all right, I need a very large, very alcoholic breakfast at Dex's. It's just like it's like 9 a.m., dude. I said breakfast.
This is more of the dialogue that I would get from like 3D Clone Wars, like where there's not a friendship between the two of them. It's just the two of them being sassy and wisecracking at each other. And there's probably even an element of this to the actual final movie, but certainly in the novelization as well. This like sassy back and forth between the two of them, like Obi-Wan and Anakin, I'm like, oh, just fuck already. You know, it's
Anakin,
just
spinning is not flying, but it's a good trick. That's from the Clone Wars.
It's like what it says with Grievous as well. It's like we've got a job to do, Anakin. Try not to upset him. I'm like, oh fuck's sake, just make out already.
That's in the deleted scene. That's in Well, actually, that deleted. Well, no, I should save that because there is not much for novel omission, but I really like the idea for the picture.
We've mentioned it already, but they do explain why they can't send a distress signal back to the Jedi Temple. It's because of the massive interference from the actual battle that's raging on.
Yeah, like the only reason they can communicate with each other is because they're practically next to each other.
Mm-hmm. And this is the introduction of a motif for Anakin here, which again might be in another section. But there is a quote where it's a flashback to Anakin's training, where he talks about from a very young age. I think this is like Jake Lloyd age, maybe probably around then, or maybe a bit older.
3 sections where this could be mentioned. So, and there are 3 times throughout the novel where this comes up.
It mentioned during his training, and he's looking at the stars, and he can see some are dying out. I think why I associated it as Jake Lloyd
specifically.
Yeah, why I associated it as Jake Lloyd because it was very reminiscent of the scene with him and Qui-Gon from Phantom Menace where they're looking at the stars. So I think that's just where my mind went. And I think Qui-Gon tells him, no, it wouldn't be Qui-Gon, would it?
No,
it would be
Obi-Wan.
All things die. And that quote will be very, very important to Anakin throughout the story.
Even stars die. Yeah. They go on a mission to a system with a dying star, with a dead dwarf. And it's barely above freezing, and Anakin is just awestruck by this because stars are literally eternal. They're always burning. They're these infinite furnaces powered up by dragons.
Yes, the dragon. Should we talk about the dragon, the concept of the dragon? Because this is, oh boy, when this happened, I rolled my eyes. The level of Force metaphors in this book by Matthew Stover is unreal.
There's so many Force metaphors. I actually really like it because the Force isn't real, so you can't really be like, this is what the Force felt like.
Sorry, I need to enunciate. Not Force metaphors, forced metaphors in this book.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It felt like some artsy, wankery English literature exam paper where you've got to hit a word count. And it's like, what does this make you feel like? Oh, Obi-Wan was flowing water. He was one with the Force. He was a collection of water droplets that forms a stream. I'm like, actually fuck off right now.
No. Hang on. Yeah, that doesn't make any goddamn sense. Obi-Wan was a single droplet in the river that was the Force.
That's right.
Which, verbose as it is, it makes some sense.
So many of them, yeah, out of all of them, that one makes the most sense, but my God, these go on for pages. Fucking agonizing. Now, here's the thing. I listened to the audiobook of this. Did you do the same, or did you actually read
I
through the
listened to the
book?
exact same audiobook as you did.
Okay.
And by the way, the voice of the dragon is the same voice of the Sand People chieftain in the Kenobi book.
Oh, right.
All things die. You will bring water to tribe.
So they don't talk like that anymore.
No, that's just how they do distance communicate. Well, some of
Oh,
because they replenish their numbers with captives, and so some of them speak basic.
got you. But yeah, the dragon. This is one of the most strained metaphors across the entire book, which is here to stay.
Put it up. Put it up. Put it up.
I'm doing it. This is a direct quote from the book. Anakin wrestled the dragon. As soon as I heard that, I like keeled over. I was corpsing on the floor from that. I was like, I know what this thumbnail for this video needs to be. JX, can you work your magic? Can you do some like AI stuff for me of Anakin wrestling a dragon? You're like, dude,
and
I'm
then
on
I
it.
did, and it's not the thumbnail.
But we are gonna keep cutting back to this because, like the book, Anakin's dragon is very, very important. I'm so glad it didn't say that Anakin choked his dragon because, oh boy, Jesus. Although I wouldn't put it past this author.
Penises.
There's yeah.
Yes. Well, speaking of scene extensions, when Obi-Wan's in the elevator.
Nice.
Well, sorry, when Anakin is carrying Obi-Wan on his back, and Obi-Wan's in the elevator. Actually, before this, let's do something important real quick. When Palpatine is like, "Oh shit, Obi-Wan's alive." Anakin, there's no time. You have to leave him. And Anakin's like, "Leave Obi-Wan Kenobi? Does he not understand what he's asking him to do?" That's what the narrator sounded like, by the way.
I liked in that moment because they do mention there's loads a little bit which just embellishes stuff in the movie or smooths some of the awkward stuff out. And in that moment, I think it says Anakin hated Palpatine for saying that stuff about Obi-Wan. Like, how could he even suggest leaving him there? So it's not like in the movie where Anakin is just completely fucking dumb. He's still dumb in the novelization, but
he seems to be all right.
Yeah, there's little moments like that where he does clock on to something like, I don't like what you just said, Chancellor. Fuck you. But in that moment, look, Palpatine's like hanging on to a railing because the ship's like...
We're not there yet. Palpatine it tells him like, hey, I can make this and I can order you to leave him. And Anakin tells him, no, you can't. You have the Senate has control. The Jedi answer to the Senate, and you're not the Senate. And he's like, that could soon change, Anakin. And he said, and maybe it should change, but it hasn't changed yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically, it's kind of the opposite of a comedian's bit about how white privilege is horrible, but as long as it's going on, what the fuck's going on at this hotel? It's the opposite of that because he does believe that there should be one person in charge and a dictator, and it should be Palpatine. But right now, he's using the fact that he doesn't answer to Palpatine to not answer to Palpatine.
Mm. There's definitely a
lot
Anakin
more. Anakin is a bit of a child.
There are some extended scenes between the two of them, just in general, like Anakin and Palpatine in this. Some of which we do see in the deleted scenes of the DVD, which I really wish were maintained and kept in the film. I think they do flesh it out a lot more. But the novel, you have a lot more to play with. Here's the thing: I don't know if all of this is taken from the original script, or if Matthew Stover has added in his own scenes and embellished certain things himself to the mix. I don't know if we can ever make that differentiation.
I think it's both. I think I think the more subtle the difference, I think the more likely it was probably there like that to begin with. It might have been worded like that in the script, and then somebody held George Lucas at gunpoint and threatened to make him read his own dialogue. Like, you can say this, George. Like, move your mouth while you're typing.
Because there are a lot more references to the fatherly dynamic that Palpatine serves to Anakin, which, if you're reading into the movie, you can get that, definitely. There's the bit where, like, I need your help, son. That's the bit where it's explicitly said in the film, but I think there is more gravitas to their relationship in the novel. I do think it is a problem of the prequels overall, though, because they kind of throw this father-son dynamic on these two characters in this final movie of the trilogy, and I think it could have been more effectively spread out across all three.
They had 2 scenes together. One of them was a line.
It's my biggest criticism of Revenge of the Sith. It's like all the stuff in it's really good, but it's a race to the finish because they just could, instead of spreading that over a trilogy, it's all like in the final 45 minutes of the last movie, which is still present in this novel, by the way. Like that
season, they have a good scene together in Attack of the Clones, but it's only the one.
It's you'll be more powerful than Master Yoda scene.
Yeah. Soon you'll learn to trust your feelings, and then you will be invincible.
Yeah.
What was the other? There was an let's. I forget the what I was about to say, but there was. I remember what I was going to say earlier, which is then when they're in the elevator, and Obi-Wan wakes up, and the first thing he sees is what he thinks it might be Anakin's butt. He's never been this close before. He's seen it a couple times, but when he's passed in front of him or bends over to get something in front of his desk.
Can you find the paragraph? Can you find that exact line? Because this little aside, I should say.
I love to work in that office. By the way, I'm so disappointed in you.
Love to work in that office. There's quite a lengthy paragraph about Obi-Wan Kenobi studying Anakin's butt when he wakes up. Let me know when you find it. I can stall for time if you want.
Okay. Obi-Wan Kenobi opened his eyes to find himself staring at what he strongly suspected was Anakin's butt. It looked like Anakin's butt. Well, his pants anyway. Though it was thoroughly impossible for Obi-Wan to be certain, since he had never before had occasion to examine Anakin's butt upside down, which it currently appeared to be, nor from this rather uncomfortably close range. And how he might have arrived at this angle and this current range was entirely baffling. He said, have I missed something? Hang on, he heard Anakin say, we're in a bit of a situation. So it was Anakin's butt after all. He supposed he might have a modicum of comfort from that. He supposed he might take a modicum of comfort from that. Looking up, he discovered Anakin's legs and his boots, and a somewhat astonishing close-up view of the Supreme Chancellor, as Palpatine seemed balanced overhead, supposedly only by a white-knuckled death grip on Anakin's ankle. Oh, hello, Chancellor. Are you well?
For example, something like that, I don't imagine George Lucas writing in his original script.
No.
Just saying.
No, actually, I could imagine George Lucas writing that, but I can't see it making its way into a script, which means it probably wasn't in the script, which means we can assume that's Stover.
Well, it was stuff like the dragon. There we go. Getting the mileage out of that thumbnail as much as I can. I kept thinking, was this a stage direction? Was this something that George Lucas kept throughout the script? I don't think so, just because the amount of metaphors throughout the novel. I think that pretty much is Stover. And I don't know, has Stover written any of the other novelizations? Is he sort of like the novelization guy, or did he just do Revenge of the Sith?
I don't think he did the other novelizations. I know the same guy in the 80s did the 2 that were written in the 80s. I mean, there were only 2 Star Wars movies that came out then. Here, Star Wars novel.
Unless you count the Ewok movies.
Fuck off.
which I still haven't seen, by the way.
Those actually might have. Those might have actually. Sorry. God, no, I don't need. Okay. Gee, I'm not asking. Okay, I'll fine. I will finish the word. Ization. I must have hit
This is
authors.
we
Okay.
got to fill this
Matt
dead air.
Stover. He did. Fuck off. He did. So Matt Stover. He did the. I just saw his picture and I remembered what his about the author says. He wrote Revenge of the Sith, the novelization, which he is also just want to include. He is an expert in several martial arts. Just that's worth noting in his.
Well, I mean,
the author.
He does go into a lot of detail on the various fighting forms, lightsaber combat in this novel. So
that is a good point. That is a very good point. Also, Alan Dean Foster wrote the original novelization, like original, like under the pen name of George Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
And also he wrote a script for episode 9 that he published. It's not good.
Wait, hang on. So are you talking about like Jewel of the Fates? That was like Colin Trevorrow, right? Or are you talking about the
No. Alan Dean Foster wrote his own episode 9 script.
I think I've heard of this. Yeah.
It's not good. Which is too bad because I really like The Adventures of Luke Skywalker, the Star Wars something.
From the Journal of the Wills, Volume 1, Chapter 12, Psalm 13.
By the rivers of Babylon.
Yeah.
Yea, we wept when we remembered Zion.
Let's talk about some more.
That's actually just where I left off years ago.
Let's talk about some more extended scenes then. Were there any other sort of like big extended scenes that you wish had stayed in the movie or gave better context to some things?
Oh, I just thought of something for the new context scene. Sorry.
Okay, well we're still on extended scenes at the moment, my guy. So
I know. Sorry. The security audio.
Oh yes, yeah. Any other extended scenes then? Can we talk about no, Grievous is more new scenes, isn't it?
The troll.
Oh wow, okay, we're jumping that far. Okay, so this is during the Order 66. This is the Purge on the Jedi Temple. Syndrolig, who I know mostly from the video game, actually, where you have the boss fight with him and some of his students. That was the actual
doing the Tom Kane old man voice. It's the same voice he does for Master Uthar in KOTOR. It's the voice that he does for the apprentice's father in Force Unleashed.
Mm-hmm.
And when he's like, Dark Lord, whatever you want, you won't find it here. He's like, you cannot disguise yourself from me, Jedi. He's like, he's not. That's a Jedi robe that he is wearing right now.
Yeah, so this is during that attack. Syndrolig is in the movie. You see him very, very, very briefly for eagle-eyed viewers on the security hologram at the Jedi Temple. I think he was played by the fight choreographer, wasn't he, of the movies? Is that right?
Gillard.
That's it. But so I always knew about the character mostly from the video game, and I think it is a little bit of a shame that we didn't get more scenes with him, especially where we learn about his history and that he was like the Syrio Forel, I guess, at the Jedi Temple. He was the sword teacher, and Obi-Wan Kenobi mentions that he had lessons from him, his old sword master. I'm like, I always assumed it was just the Jedi master, like Qui-Gon, that would teach you how to use a lightsaber. But I think it's cool that, yeah, there's like an actual... That is his job. That is his job role at the academy.
Yeah, so like your master will teach you plenty, but there are also dedicated classes where the sword master will teach you will teach you shit. Like I love that he has white hair in the game because he's a that means he's a Chani, which are great blade masters. They're very. You have an Achani companion in Knights of the Old Republic 2, and if you spar with her, she's like, it's better. It's the Achani way to spar completely naked, so you aren't obstructed. I was like, that's stupid.
That's really
Anyway,
stupid. Yeah.
but the so I mean, he's the blade master. He's the sword instructor because that's literally his job on set. He's the stunt coordinator. He's Nick Gillard. In fact, there's a behind the scenes clip where he is talking to the camera and he says, I'm about to do my scenes as Sin Dralig. George Lucas told I had to name the character myself because I knew. So I know. So I had to name the character myself. So I just took my name backwards. So
Oh, of
Nick,
course.
if you drop the K, Sin Dralig Gillard.
Oh, yeah. No, that's cool. I
Because
didn't know
he
that.
knew that if George Lucas was allowed to name his character, if he didn't have a name that he wanted his character to be, George Lucas was going to name him the Troll.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so in the novel, it's during the scene in the actual movie where Yoda and Obi-Wan make their way into the Jedi Temple, which I think in the novel is still overrun by clones, isn't it? They're having to sort of like hide from patrolling clones. Because I always wondered that in the
takes them, like,
movie.
several hours. They're like hiding and doing guerrilla ambushes.
Yeah.
There's like patrols will go missing, and then they'll just open a closet and find 5 dead clones.
Yeah, because that always struck me as weird in the movie.
Baby.
You have the clones that swarm the Jedi Temple, and then when Obi-Wan and Yoda make their way back there to change the distress signal, there's like 7 clone guards posted outside, and that's it. Like they just walk straight into the temple. You think that the clones would have locked the they would have shut that place down. They would have locked it down completely with just like a garrison of troops. So I like how they were actually having to like hide from them. Anyway, it's during that scene in the movie, and it's the bit where they're inspecting all of the fallen Jedi, and it's not even the younglings survived. It's sort of an extension on that scene where he finds the body of Sin Dralig, as I mentioned, Obi-Wan's old swordmaster. And yeah, he nicknames him the Troll, and repeatedly, I think a few times in the novel, it refers to him as the Troll.
I lost my shit because I knew about that clip.
And I was so confused, and I was like, well, I know what Sin Dralig looks like, and he's a human. He's a human character. He's not a troll. I didn't know that context, so yeah, that makes a little bit more sense now.
Hang on a second.
I will say that I do have like a massive appreciation for George.
Jewish.
Look, just because he's Jewish doesn't make him a troll, JX. All right.
No. I'm just okay. There's nothing that says he's Jewish. I don't listen. Okay, that's a point in favor of George Lucas.
What? That he didn't call him the Troll?
No. He didn't call him the Troll because he wanted to call him the Troll, and he's not Jewish. So we know he didn't want to call him the Troll because he's Jewish, because he's not Jewish.
I'm just expecting Danny DeVito from Always Sunny in Philadelphia dressed as the Troll.
That's why that's been in my head all day.
Give me that leg, boy.
Oh my god.
So yeah, I liked this scene. I thought it was. I mean, I can probably understand.
He's the one with the lightsaber strike that they identify.
Oh yeah, that's carved into the. Oh no! That's Anakin. That's Anakin's lightsaber.
What? Yeah. No, they find Sin Dralig with a wound from a lightsaber.
Oh, sorry. I thought that's what you meant. Sorry. Yeah. I thought you meant Sin Dralig dealt the blow. I was like, no, it's Anakin. That's what they're finding there.
Oh.
We do get some.
Also an extension of that same scene when they look at the security of Anakin.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I did actually think there was going to be more of the Jedi Temple stuff in the novel, which I was a little disappointed in.
It's so short once you get to the end. Like, it's the opposite of the Invisible Hand.
Mm-hmm. Because in the movie, one of my big, well, I have a lot of criticisms on Revenge of the Sith. I still very much enjoy it, but I do have criticisms towards it. I really wish we could have seen more stuff at the Jedi Temple, some more personality to some of the Jedi Masters, some more of what went down there. I think would have been cool to see. And the video game gives us that in spades, and I know that they've got to fill certain levels, so it makes sense. But when we got this
do a super extended edition of Revenge of the Sith with stuff from the video game, the animatics, the deleted scenes. Honestly, ironically, despite what everybody else is doing to extend Revenge of the Sith, the one thing I'm hesitant to include is the Clone Wars.
Yeah. But there's a lot of stuff there in the various video games, even the Lego game, that has some scenes that link to this novel as well. But I guess we'll get onto that when we get onto new scenes. There is a little bit of extended stuff where Anakin makes his way to the doors of the Jedi Temple, and there's like a gatekeeper there and a passcode, and Anakin loves shoving his lightsaber through people, like under people's chins in this novel, and having some kind of sassy one-liner. He is like a straight-up 80s action star in this novel. During the attack on the, during the murder of the Separatists, in the movie, it's this very tragic, harrowing...
promised us a handsome reward!
Oh, you don't think I'm handsome?
Exactly.
Or is it like...
He has promised we would be left in peace!
He said...
It was garbled. He said you'd be left in pieces.
It's so cheesy, and I love shit like that. It's, would have completely changed
it's up there with, perhaps, be careful not to choke on your aspirations, director.
Yes, yeah. It would have completely changed the tone of that scene, because it's like Anakin's reveling in this stuff in the novel. He's loving it. He's evil and he fucking loves it. Whereas in the movie, it's this tragic, harrowing event where, you know, as he's killing them, he's screaming in anguish as he's doing it. Afterwards, you have the moment where the quiet moment where he's looking at the galaxy that he will want. Now I know the context of this scene. I thought it was the light is sort of being blotted out by the dark cloud that's moving across the sky in the movie. But in the book, it's like he's inspecting the galaxy that he will one day rule. I'm like, oh, okay. And then in the movie, he's like crying about it. The very cinematic single tear rolls down his face. Yeah. Anakin's Dark Deeds, isn't it? I think is the soundtrack. No, he fucking loves it in the novel. He wants all alien women to find him attractive. He's carving all the Separatists up. My boy Wat Tamba and Rune Haku running into the side conference room.
Whatever you want. He cuts off his arms and his legs. Thank you.
My boy Wat Tamba. You see him in the movie. He's hiding behind the conference. That's like, whoa. He's like, whoa. Which way are you going? Which way are you going? But yeah, and then as well,
as they say, a dead end.
A dead end. That's where I was going to go. Yeah. And that's not even a one-liner from Anakin. That's a one-liner from the fucking author in that moment.
That's from the narrator. Although I will say this book does a good job, similar to how Game of Thrones does it. When you're following a character in third person, but the third person narrator still has the personality of the perspective character. So it talks about 3PO hiding and stuff, and it's very third person, but even the audiobook guy can't resist going a little fey, going a little my. Even though 3PO is not saying a word.
There's a couple of other extended... Oh, sorry.
Yeah, well, earlier in the temple, when they're looking at the security hologram, and Anakin says to Palpatine, I have the exact quote, because you weren't sure which holocrons they're referring to.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Our ancient holocrons are once again in the hands of the Sith.
Oh,
so I'm going to go ahead and say that these are Sith holocrons.
Yes. Yeah.
I think at one point it refers to them being stolen by the Jedi.
Mm-hmm. But bear that in mind, like the Jedi archives, because I want to bring that up for new context and stuff that I really appreciated.
Yeah,
it's not so much an extended scene, but it does lead into a scene that is in the movie in some way. and just explains something that happens off camera, which I really liked. There's a couple of other extended scenes, which I guess might be straying into new scenes, so we can probably move into new scenes right after this. The first of which is the Japor snippet, which I really like, is given a little bit more. I won't even say given more weight, because it is referred to in the movie. There's the bit where Anakin says, "I remember when I gave this to you," and then we get that nicely bookended at the very end of the film, where we see it during the funeral procession that Padme still has it. But right before she dies in childbirth, or after childbirth, I guess, she hands the Japor snippet to Obi-Wan. I think it's during the scene where she says there's still good in him. And I think that is a really just perfect, like a really nice moment to have that sort of that childhood innocence of Anakin, which is that Japor snippet during that moment where she says there is still good in him, which would have been a real nice scene to include had, with the benefit of hindsight, that have continued, that had been like a totem that either Luke carries with him or Obi-Wan still carries with him in the OT. As it is, I think it's even given back to her, isn't it, though, at the end of this third film?
Like it clearly meant a lot to her. Then buried with her, it should be.
Yeah.
No, what? No, she seemed
gave
to
it to
make
Obi-Wan.
sure that it wasn't.
Yeah, she gave it to Obi-Wan, and then he gives it back. It's like, in the movie, cut out the middleman. It would have been a nice scene, but pick a lane and stick to it. It's like the acorn. It's like the acorn deleted scene in The Hobbit. It's like, bury it in Dale. Okay, commit to that. If not, take it home with you to the Shire. Just pick one. I would have been fine with both, and I'm happy with the one that we get in the final movie.
Which one do we get in the final movie? We don't.
Well, you have the end credit slide, don't you, where he's holding the acorn, so it's implied that he takes it home.
Okay.
Which is it's such a lazy way of doing it, but yeah.
No, that's fine. I mean, I like what we did.
Yes.
I like that we're going to do it better.
Yes, when I get some free time to actually keep working on it.
Dude, honestly, so I just showed my roommate's cousin The Lord of the Rings for the first time. If you don't, I might just download your edit and like throw in like just a bunch of AI shots and be like, okay, we're watching this.
Wait till I've done the. I'm gonna get a week off soon. Wait till I've got the new version out and then go right for it. And the other extended scene I wanted to mention, which I really appreciated, is that Mace Windu gets a lot more to work with in this film. Mace Windu was already pretty badass as hell in episode 3 anyway. Probably one of the best characters in the film, actually. But there's so much more like machinations that are added to it, and political intrigue, and where his mindset is, not just of himself, but where the Jedi stand in the galaxy against public perception, which is something that I thought was massively lacking in the prequel trilogy. Was, what does the average Joe on the street think of the Jedi during all of this? We get a little intro in the book as well, which, yeah, I mean, the book opens with the public perception on Coruscant, essentially, that they hail certainly Obi-Wan and Anakin as heroes. They're like celebrities in Coruscant at this point. But I don't know if that
are great, but despite the fact they're Jedi is kind of the common perception.
And I don't know where that extends to all the other Jedi, if they're not hailed as celebrities as well, if it really is just those two. But there seems to be
nobody's buying Jedi trading cards anymore that say that Yoda's midichlorian count is in the millions.
Star Wars top trumps. I had those.
Those no. Those are in universe. Those are real.
Oh wow. I didn't know that. Okay.
And there was like they had to like have them shut down because they falsely reported Yoda's midichlorian count was in the millions.
They had to recall
the same species as Even Peel.
Oh wow.
They're like, these are just wrong. You need to stop.
But yeah, it just gave great importance and understanding for me as to where his headspace was. And yeah, I think it's unfortunate that some of that did fall on the cutting room floor. So straying into new scenes, there's new dialogue scenes as well with some of the other Jedi Masters, which would have been nice to see. That's kind of everything I've got for extended scenes. Do you want to move into new scenes now, or
should we do new scenes or new context? Because new context would still be talking about stuff in the movie.
We can do new context. Yeah, that's fine. So our next section then, new context.
Master Windu. Master Teen, Master Fisto. I don't remember your name. I genuinely don't. I don't remember the fourth one's name. I feel bad. It's like, so good to see you. And I know he's like, Stacey Teen, I see your horn is growing back. I'm very happy for you.
Are you just pleased to see me, or?
Yeah, there's we know. What? What? We know. You're a Sith. It's like, so according to you. Okay, let's actually talk about this instead of just vaguely refer to it. So that scene that we just referred to, it's when that chapter starts, the following audio was presented to the Senate on the first Empire Day.
Mm-hmm.
Which, that's some Romeo and Juliet level spoilers right there.
I was going to make a point of that, actually. Matthew Stover's writing in this, he does like to jump the gun and spoil shit ahead of time. Now, I don't know what business you have reading a novelization of episode 3 without having seen the movie. It seems, usually, you want to read the book before watching the movie. In this case, it seems a little bit counterproductive to do that.
What context in what scenario would you watch Revenge of the Sith and not know exactly what's going to happen in it, even if you haven't seen even if Revenge of the Sith hasn't come out yet? How
this is true, but
ever watch it without knowing exactly what's going to happen?
No, but you don't know this. But you don't know the specifics.
It spoils it already.
You don't know the specifics of stuff. I guess what I'm saying is that as an author, you'd have to assume that someone is going to be reading this book, maybe out there, that hasn't watched the movie. It's as small as that number may be. But there will be someone out there that doesn't know this story and maybe just picks it off the shelf to read it or has read the novelizations of the other ones. So you have Anakin. It's like, oh, this guy's going to become evil in a couple of chapters' time, but not just yet. Hold on tight. We'll get to it. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Like, well,
it literally opens with like letting you know.
I hated
it was all fucked from the beginning.
I hated that.
It's a meta, doomed prophecy. This story happened a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It is already over. Nothing can be done to change it. It is the story of love and loss, brotherhood and betrayal, courage and sacrifice, and the death of dreams. It is the story of the blurred line between our best and our worst. It is the story of the end of an age. A strange thing about stories. Though this all happened so long ago and so far away that words cannot describe the time or distance, it is also happening right now, right here. It is happening as you read these words. Listen to these words if you're listening to the audiobook. This is how 25 millennia came to a close. Corruption and treachery have crushed 1,000 years of peace. This is not just the end of a republic. Night is falling on civilization itself. This is the twilight of the Jedi. The end starts now. That's how you start the book. I hate it.
I hate it because it's just like, let the story speak for itself. I don't need to say like, by the way, reader, things are going to go bad.
Same headspace that everyone was in when they went to the movie theater to see this movie. That's actually a really good way to start this. It's very poetically worded way of saying that, of putting the audience in the headspace of the audience of Revenge of the Sith.
You do understand though that some people, like not myself maybe, and not you, some people were just watching the prequel series as they came out. They hadn't seen the originals. So it was probably a shock to them when Palpatine turned into the fucking Emperor and was evil. It was probably a shock to them.
God help them if they had Attack of the Clones on VHS.
Wait, why?
Because it starts with 3PO spoiling the entire plot.
In Attack of the Clones?
Yeah, hang on.
On VHS?
3PO... Attack of the Clones.
I have it on VHS. I have it on VHS.
No sound, but look, this.
I don't have that on video.
You didn't get that? Yeah, no, he's literally like he's like, before you watch this, we have been instructed by Master Luke Skywalker to explain the history behind this, even though it's going to encompass what you're about to watch and stuff after it.
No, I never had that on video. It just goes straight. Well, it's probably trailers before it. Maybe it goes straight into the movie. That must be like an
Here,
American
wait, hang on.
release.
There's like one part in here that I can accurately do the audio. Wait, oh.
Look, my point is that the book just spoils shit way ahead of time, and I'm just like, let the story play out in a linear. You haven't got to go like all non-linear with the shit. To your point though about that new context for the scene, I did appreciate that because the writing kind of falls to the wayside, especially around this scene for me. This is sort of like the pivot point of Revenge of the Sith, where a lot of stuff happens, which I just don't buy. I don't buy that Anakin turns to the dark side that quickly, and I still don't in the novel as well. But one of my biggest gripes was that, Palpatine orchestrates the genocide of every Jedi across the galaxy, burns their temple to the ground, looks fucking evil, goes to the Senate and says, I'm your new evil dictator. I just really had to kill the shit out of the Jedi. And everyone just goes along with it. There's no cry for, well, where's your evidence that you're presenting? Let's see some security footage.
No, wait, no, hang on, no. He'd been Padme says to Bale, he spent the past few hours presenting evidence, not just of the part with the audio that's presented, but because not just proof of an assassination attempt, which is the audio, but proof of an entire conspiracy, which we can only assume what that is. But apparently, it's fucking convincing.
It's very vague though in the movie, is what I'm saying. I like that we actually have this where we know that Palpatine has control of the Senate and the courts. That's said by Mace Windu in the movie, but I like that he knows that he's bugged his apartment, basically. He's bugged his office because he probably knows that an arrest is imminent. Everything has been going as he has foreseen. So he's prepped this, and he's being consciously vague about everything that he's saying. Now, I don't know how the audio recording didn't pick up on...
God's treason! And then it cuts to and then that's where the audio cuts out, and then we go back a little bit, play it with as if you're reading the scene, and then he says, treason! Stabs his desk right into the audio recorder and winks.
Mm-hmm. There are some bits as well where it says garbled, and I'm like, well, did Palpatine fuck with the audio on this to make it scrambled and to remove any of the incriminating parts?
It just says garbled. He might be saying it doesn't hurt, and it's just because he's dying.
So he kills
Asian Kolar.
Yeah, he kills one of them. He like scalps one of them, basically. I think he like cuts his head in twain. But there's like a couple of lines that
full on decapitated.
Yeah, there's a couple of lines that escape one of the Jedi's lips before he dies, and that's the bit where he says it doesn't hurt. And I'm just like, did Palpatine go in and fuck with some of the audio? Because how did it not pick up on the sound of all these lightsabers igniting and just death and madness and destruction?
You hear the lightsabers.
And like a Jedi falling to the ground and dying, and it doesn't hurt. And
no, you just hear lightsabers and a scuffle followed by it doesn't hurt and then it murder scream.
That being said, I don't think that still holds up, because then, okay, is there no video camera do video cameras exist in this world? I guess they do, because we see the security hologram in the movie.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But it's convenient when it's convenient.
Hang on, I just realized something. There would not be security cameras in the Chancellor's office for the same reason there would not be security cameras in the Oval Office, which is why there also wouldn't be recording equipment in the Oval Office, except the inspiration for Emperor Palpatine, one Richard Nixon, broke that rule.
So what about, okay, so the security footage would have the Jedi Masters arriving at the office and then never leaving that office.
Yes, we are to assume that I'm guessing he said that the Red Guards took care of him.
Oh, okay. Because I know that the Jedi Purge happens right after that. So did he just went, oh, they took the back entrance and went back to the Jedi Temple where they were systematically murdered by me?
Yes.
But there's some new
But
context
also,
as well to that, and I guess again straying into new scenes, we actually do get some personality from some of the other Jedi Masters. We have dialogue from Kit Fisto. We have them talking about the mission, saying we should wait until Yoda gets back. We need extra men on this mission, and I like that. I like that we get a little bit more personality to them, and I think that is
Kit
something
Fisto,
that
who does not sound Rastafarian in the audiobook.
no, he doesn't. That is something that I think was a bit of a missed opportunity in the actual prequel movies, which I know through the Clone Wars and everything, we do get some more of these personalities to these characters. But like, if this is based on the original script, I do wonder if this was there originally, maybe. And yeah,
This
Kit
feels
Fisto
more
just
like they're personalities from like Legends books being applied to a scene.
yeah. And yeah, my boy Kit Fisto just gets decapitated. There's a lot of decapitations. There's a lot of death in the original script to this. You've got again new scenes. Or I guess have you had anything more to say on new context before we move on to new
Well,
scenes?
oh yeah, no, yeah, plenty. So new context. I mean, so we get throughout the book. We get. I mean, we already talked about the metaphorical languages about how it feels to use the Force. What it feels like to be Anakin Skywalker or Obi-Wan Kenobi at any given time.
Unrelated image.
But also in the scenes that the deleted scenes with Mon Mothma, Bail Organa. Yeah, exactly. In this specific shot, Bail Organa is saying that he and Mon Mothma are putting together an organization, and Padme says, "No, just stop talking," which is given the new context of "Don't make me lie to my husband," but also those scenes continue, and like in those scenes, Padme forms this committee where they're talking about like opposing the chancellor in the Senate. Getting the popular vote. They have 2,000 respectable votes. Even in the book, they say that Bail Organa's signature is on that petition, and then later they say it isn't. Just pointing that out, and I think that's because of this recontextualization. Because Bail, it's important that Bail not be on that, because the new context is all those senators know that if they speak out against Palpatine, they will be executed. Like passion is hot, treason is hot right now. The New Zealand guy with the beard who wants to bring the petition in front of the chancellor, he gets arrested off screen. They're literally like, that's already happened. Like that guy and the Asian woman who looks down the entire scene. We will present our petition to the chancellor. That's what happens. That's just what happens in that scene. I watched these leading up to that to this stream, just so you know.
I've always liked these deleted scenes now in typical George Lucas directing fashion for the prequels. They are filmed in the least engaging way possible, just sitting a camera and B
sitting on
camera.
a couch.
Yeah, it's
They
the
are
red letter
sitting
media
and talking.
stuff. And this was already evident in the prequels anyway, but I think if we had have had these deleted scenes in, then that would have just exemplified that point even more so. But I think the actual content of the scenes is actually very good. I just wish it was a little bit more engaging, and thankfully we do see similar conversations like this that is way more engaging in the TV show Andor, which this would have led into very nicely. And the first appearance of what's her name, Genevieve, oh god, I've forgotten her name, who plays Mon Mothma in Andor.
She's New Zealand, or she's from Australia, I think.
She's Irish.
Wait, no. What was her word? No, not she's from. She was like she was the palest. Yes, she was the palest woman in Australia, I believe. Was
Oh,
her
okay,
word.
okay. But so a lot of people criticize sort of Padme's. Does she even have an arc, a story in Revenge of the Sith. She is pregnant lady woman person who gives birth at the end and then dies.
She is literally an object of Anakin's affection in that
Yeah.
she is treated as an object. Literally, like in a way, it's done on purpose. It's not a good thing that this is happening, but it is what's happening.
And it was nice to see the story complete, and this is why I would love to see a version of the film with these deleted scenes reinserted back into it, where you do get the full context of her story and seeing the seeds of the rebellion being formed and some of the more political machinations of Padme in the behind the scenes, as she's essentially waging her own fight against Palpatine in a way, and seeing what is about to happen by the end of the film and where it's all leading to, and trying to prevent that. There is a little bit more of an added context to it in I guess no, it is in the deleted scene where Mon Mothma says that no one can know about this, not even the people that we love or care about, and that she is keeping this from Anakin.
Yeah, even
that is it. Yeah, that is in the movie, but with the novel, there's a lot more that goes on with that. The seeds of mistrust between Padme and Anakin.
Padme, actually, if you
can we talk about that a second? It drove me insane all the way through the book. I'm like, Matthew. You constantly keep saying Padme. It's Padme.
It's Jonathan. Not Jonathan Davis.
Yeah. You should apologize.
Oh my god.
I thought, is that just like an American way of saying it? Because y'all say vowels weirdly, inflections on things?
No, I think it's like, okay, you know those Knights of the Old Republic movies that I like?
Mm-hmm.
Darth Malik's ship is called the Leviathan, and the creator of them calls it the Leviathan because it sounds better.
Oh, what a cunt. I hate people who do that, who intentionally know they're mispronouncing a word just because they want to appear unique or cool or fucking against the grain. Like, fuck you. Actually, fuck you.
Jesus.
Sorry, I just had to really get... This is one of my biggest pet peeves. I just really had to get that off my chest.
I like you? Anyway, but no, so the added context from those scenes, one, because the new context, because they're not on the because Bail and Mon Mothma aren't on the committee, they're the thing they won't talk about that Padme shoots down, like, don't say another words. It's not the committee, it's not the petition, because Padme says to him, when the empire is made, you just go along with the empire, just appear to be all for it and do the thing we're not allowed to talk about. And then he says, but Padme, that could take 20 years. It's the rebellion. It's talking about the rebellion.
I will say, though, having watched Andor, this stuff was really cool to me, because they were like, Bail, Mon, just keep doing what you're doing. But what's the line from Macbeth where it's like, appear the innocent flower but be the serpent under it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And having watched fresh off Andor, I'm like, oh, this is cool, because that is what they did.
To quote Mon Mothma, you don't see you're too busy looking at the something in my hand that you don't notice the knife at your throat.
Yes, yeah. Oh man,
yeah.
I love me some Andor. I'm still on an Andor high. We're almost a week.
Yeah, well, Andor was so much better than Revenge of the Sith.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, but it couldn't have been without Revenge of the Sith.
That's true.
A lot of when I will say, when Disney nails Star Wars, it desperately relies on Star Wars that existed before it.
Star Wars needs to be political. Like, people kick off, you could maybe say that all the political stuff in the prequels isn't filmed particularly dynamically, or it's not an engaging watch. It is completely necessary to the story it's telling, and forms the foundation of everything.
the taxation of trade routes is kind of a lot more interesting in 2025.
Yeah, like this is the thing. Like even with Andor, like we love how political it's getting now. We were clamoring for more Senate scenes. How the turns have
a Star Wars story.
Yeah, how the turns have tabled since the prequels came out. Oh, there's too much boring fucking politics, and then as a retaliation to that, you have the sequel trilogy where they were like, right, we're gonna blow up all of the politics. We're gonna blow up five planets worth of politics. No politics here, girlfriend. And it's fucking boring. There's no sense of world building at all in those films.
Yeah, no, that is a problem. That is a genuine problem I have with that. I want to add Senate scenes to that at least before it gets destroyed, and add somebody from the Senate to the beginning.
There's some more new context I wanted to talk about here, just sort of going back to an earlier point of the Jedi archives, because in the movie we have the follow-up scene to a scene that's missing in the actual film. So I guess I could count this as a new scene, but it does change the way that I actually view the film now I've read the book. I know that you shouldn't...
New context for everything about the Master, him being denied the rank of Master, so it's worth mentioning here.
And I think certainly in the novel, it's one of the earlier senses of that mistrust being sown between Anakin and the rest of the Jedi and the Order as a whole. So he's had his visions of Padme dying in childbirth at this point. It just, Anakin loves working on the pod, doesn't he? Ever since he was a small boy. Sorry. And yeah, he's the whole Senate. True story. He's desperately trying to find some information on how to save Padme from certain death. And his first stop, as is any logical stop, is to go to the wealth of information at the Jedi archives. And he probably ran into that snooty bitch Jocasta. I fucking hate her in Attack of the Clones. I just wanted to slap the taste out of her mouth. She was horribly rude to our boy Obi-Wan in that scene. She was despicable.
She's such a powerful face. He was one of the most gifted Jedi I've ever had the privilege of knowing. Oh, but you didn't come here for a history lesson.
It's how he's like, oh no, you must be mistaken. Perhaps the archives are incomplete. She's like, if it does not appear on our records, it simply doesn't exist.
Yes.
And then walks off. I'm like, actually, fuck you, Jocasta. I'm so glad you got fucking murdered in the video game.
I really want to make that extended edition, but there were so few times when I'm going to be like, oh, now it's time to pay attention. You know, I'm excited about it on paper, but then I have to watch it.
Yeah. So he goes to the Jedi archives, and all the stuff he needs is in the restricted section, and they this is off limits to civilians. Terribly sorry, I didn't know. If I see one, I shall inform you immediately. But you have to be a master.
What would probably save Padme? A piece of rare magic. It's called, as I understand it.
But yeah, so the Jedi archives, or that specific section of the archives, are off limits to non-masters, which just further adds to the mistrust. And that is why in the movie he's late for the Outer Rim Sieges meeting, or whatever it is, where Master Voss has moved his troops to Boss Pity. I think in the movie you have the bit where he consults Yoda, and that, I guess, explains why he missed the meeting. But it's like, you can't be mad at Anakin. He went to a council scene with Yoda.
Your boss.
And Yoda probably would have been present at those meetings anyway. So So I liked the added context of that moment. I think it helped bolster the mistrust in the Jedi. I still don't buy how quickly he turns to the dark side, but it's another notch on his way there, I guess.
There's one line for that where after that's a new scene.
Let's talk about new scenes. Are we done with new context? Okay. Let's talk about new scenes, because this is going to be the juicy stuff.
If we think of new context, we'll just throw the new context image in the CumNet and drag it back.
Oh, hang on. One step at a time, my guy. Hang on. There we go. New scenes. Should we talk about the one that's actually in the main image? Because this is probably the biggest new scene for me.
So wait, what? Oh wow, Padme's got a new handmaiden. I didn't notice that. She gets one mention at least.
She gets through them, doesn't she?
The morning after the morning that Obi-Wan that Anakin does not spend with Padme because he's got to do research about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, so actually, here's some new context. Come net.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. New context. Right before this scene is the opera house scene.
Mm-hmm.
In which we get some direct quotes from the Plagueis novel. Because Palpatine tells him, it's just like, I've been reading about the Sith, and it seems like the Sith are more powerful than the Jedi because they're not afraid to feel. Which is, there's literally in Plagueis, he tells him,
remember why the Sith are more powerful than the Jedi, Plagueis. Because we are not afraid to feel.
But and he goes on to that, and he basically he tells them that the logic for focusing on the self to understand the Force is, some philosophers believe that if a person understands a grain of sand, truly understands a grain of sand, then they would comprehend all of the mysteries of the universe. And so Plagueis allegedly focused all his attention inward on himself, and he came to understand himself and the Force and the midichlorians so completely that he had control over life, and since they're so interlocked, death. And so Anakin calls Padme after that and is like, "Hey, I can't spend the night with you. I've got to do some work at the temple." And that work, he can't go to the archives because they're only for masters. So instead he just meditates, but instead of, just focusing outward on the Force, he meditates all night focusing on himself.
Mm-hmm.
And then the following morning, because he's not at Padme's, that's when Obi-Wan visits Padme's apartment.
Yeah.
And that's the scene that we're talking about in the scene in that Obi-Wan put the thing up.
I'm on it. I'm on it. This scene was always weird to me. This scene was always weird to me as a viewer because, even the music and the tone of everything. I always laugh because I always think that Anakin's playing on his PSP, a little handheld gaming device.
That's the
security?
That's the list of senators.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so this completely changed everything for me. Now, I guess you did kind of tee this up for me a while back because you have mentioned this scene to me before, I think, when we've discussed editing ideas for the Star Wars films. You've said, hey, what do you think about the addition of this scene? I'm like, and you're like, well, it's in the novelization, so... Well,
it would be a shot reverse shot, so it wouldn't be too hard to do with AI.
But this scene in the novel probably has some of the most beautiful writing, and if it is all from the hand of George Lucas, there is a meme out there somewhere where it's like, this is the dialogue that George Lucas removes, but this is the dialogue that he keeps, and it's like "you're so beautiful. It's only because I'm so in love" scene.
I cannot believe that George Lucas wrote this because of that.
Now, I'm very torn on this scene.
Scene wasn't in there.
I'm very torn on this scene because it does add completely new context to this whole exchange,
relationship, and yeah.
So, at this time, Obi-Wan goes there because he's concerned about Anakin. He's already seen some signs there that he's becoming very arrogant, and he's very back talking against the other masters, stressed, tired, and he goes to Padme. And he drops the bombshell right here that he's always known that they've been in a relationship together. that they've had a thing together, and he's
Anakin
let it
has loved
happen.
you since the day you met in that horrible junk shop on Tatooine. He's never even tried to hide it, though we do not speak of it. We pretend that I don't know. No, Anakin just thinks he's slick.
I don't know how he knows from that moment in the junk shop, because he never went to the junk shop.
Yeah,
He was
I was
on the
going to say,
ship.
I guess he must have been told, because he also knows about what happened to Shmi.
Yeah.
So he doesn't know what happened to the Sand People, but he knows what happened to Shmi.
Mm-hmm.
Because he even mentions Klieg Lars.
Yeah.
Later.
Because
but
it's a really nice scene how
yeah.
he says that he did it. He let it happen because it made him happy. And I'm like,
There's actually a scene in Clone Wars that harkens to this. In that final 4 episodes, or no, I don't know. It's in the arc right before, at the beginning of the arc right before those final 4 episodes, with the Bad Batch, when Anakin is in a call with Padme, and they're just in love and talking about how much they love each other and stuff. And Rex is outside watching the door for Anakin because they're boys. And Obi-Wan is like, "Hey, where's Anakin?" He's like, he's in the barracks." Doing what? Inspecting my equipment. Uh-huh. Why don't you let me in? And he's like, and then the door opens and Anakin just tosses him his helmet. He's like, "There you go, Rex."
Oh, I think I've seen that. Yeah. Now I
And
will
then
say that.
no, but then Obi-Wan's like, "Anakin, at least tell me you told Padme I said hi."
Mhm.
Like, he doesn't know what's going on, but he knows there's something.
I will say with this scene, if this had been in the movie where he knows that they've been a thing, it's surprising to me that he doesn't clock onto the fact that Anakin is the father until much, much later on in the story.
I think that's him clocking on that there is a child, I guess.
And then so it is very strange. Essentially, the
unclear.
crux of this is he goes there to express his concern. They drop the bombshell right there in the book that Obi-Wan's always knew about this. And I guess if you do have that scene in there, man, that just makes Obi-Wan feel all the more guilty after everything that happens. Like, he could have mentioned this sooner and put a stop to this. Things would have gone so differently.
I love they literally they talk about, like, how bad do you think it would be if Anakin left the Order?
Mm-hmm.
And because it would be so good for Anakin if he left the Order. But I think Obi-Wan is actually, like, really against that.
Yeah.
Because he needs him to spy on the Chancellor for him.
Well, he thinks it'll be
Meanwhile,
like good discipline for him. It'll keep him on the straight and narrow, because he's seeing that he's veering off, and he thinks that, well, no, if we keep him here with the Jedi, eventually things will smooth themselves out, and my teachings will come through, and this could be just a bit of a rough patch for him. So yeah, it's good stuff in that way.
He
But
doesn't need that. He needs love and a therapy, because he's got so much trauma, and he's probably a little bit on the spectrum.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah. But the weird thing that is about this scene is that what it eventually leads to, and it's more manipulation from Palpatine and sowing distrust and whatnot. Right after this scene, Anakin goes to have a heart-to-heart with Palpatine, and he says that a gentleman was seen leaving at unsociable hours from Amidala's penthouse or apartment or whatever late last night. And he's like, no, that's impossible. And he's like,
This morning.
It's like, oh, I'm afraid we have the security footage, the conveniently placed security footage, which shows up sometimes, but not other times. And he's like, how could this be? And he's like, I'm afraid it was your master, Obi-Wan Kenobi. And then Anakin gets really pissy and possessive. And he's like, oh, that clearly means that Padme be fucking Obi-Wan. And like, there are no grounds for this at all. Now, you could chalk this up to
he doesn't outright say that she's cheating on him with him.
It's heavily implied based on his actions and how pissed he gets.
Although,
yeah,
it is more direct. That Obi-Wan thing is more directly tied to the whole delegation of 2000, because right before, put it up.
Yes, I'm on it.
Nope.
No. Oh, this one.
Right before this, Anakin smells a tea or a broth or something.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And he knows Padme hates that tea, and Obi-Wan is deathly allergic to it. And in the second deleted scene with the committee, it's the first thing you see. Because there's a tray of drinks and a hand does this, and 3PO says, "It is something of an acquired taste."
I think as
And then
well in that moment after he says Obi-Wan's been here, hasn't he? He stands up and doesn't he like run his hand on the couch? And I think in the novel it says that he imagined Obi-Wan sitting. He
could
can
feel
how
he
close
could
they were
feel
sitting next
his
to each other.
lingering presence and how close they were, and it was not appropriately close.
I'm just imagining him going into like,
why is Obi-Wan like? It's not right that Obi-Wan is sneaking here in the early hours of the morning. She's like, yeah, that's usually when you're sneaking off.
he finds the suspicious stains on the couch, and then yeah. But it does add new context to it, I guess. I just don't like that because it's incredibly out of character for Obi-Wan. And the thing is, I get that Anakin's
Wait, what's out of character for Obi-Wan?
To even do that if it was true. And I know that Anakin's coming apart. No, I know, but I know that Anakin's coming apart at the seams. But even then, because of the lack of chemistry and stuff between Obi-Wan and Padme, I don't buy that in an unhinged state, Anakin would buy that, is what I'm saying.
Well, and in an unhinged state, faced with the fact that they were seated so close to each other, it is worth noting. At such an ungodly hour.
It's not like, oh, Obi-Wan's the guy she tells you not to worry about. It's not that. He's been a friend of the family for fucking years.
But
like,
Obi-Wan, remember in the first scene with Padme, like in the first scene where he's going to meet Padme after the invisible hand, he's like, what if she doesn't feel the same way about him? What if somebody's gotten in the way of us? And he's just this hopelessly paranoid, clingy, obsessed boyfriend.
Dare I say he's even more of a whiny bitch in the novel than he is in the actual movie?
For bits there, yeah, he definitely is. Because somebody has come between them, though. But it's not what you think. Annie, you'll hurt us. It's us. She's pregnant. That's who's come between them.
Come between them, yeah. Well, quite literally. Dude, I'm gonna milk this meme. Oh boy, poor choice of words. I'm gonna milk this meme for all it's worth. God damn it! Right, let's go through some other new scenes. We haven't talked about Grievous. Let's talk about Grievous's introduction because he's so much more of an intimidating, cooler bad guy in his introduction in the novel.
Yeah. Oh my god, we deserve to have our heads crushed for not mentioning him yet.
Okay, they do pander to the cliched villain thing of just killing his own henchmen left, right, and center. And I guess Vader perfects that as well as a villain, right? He does that all the time too. He's choking his Imperial guards out and whatnot. But there is something that would have been so viscerally awesome to see General Grievous put his fist through a fucking Neimoidian's face and just rip his body out.
Man hangar bay. We're tracking them. Shut up.
And then he just like shakes off Neimoidian brain off his hand and just grabs the corpse and pulls it out of the chair. He's like, "You!" Now I'm talking like Saw Gerrera. Now I'm talking like Ceres from Galaxy Quest. "You bring me the Omega 13." He's like, "You are captain now." Oh my god, it's the same voice as Saw Gerrera. Or am I just realizing this?
Wow. Oh, shit.
It is.
Is it a bomb?
And then he's like, wings come up. Find them! Such a cool bad guy. He's great.
He's pretty awesome.
General Grievous punches the brains apart of at least 3 Neimoidians in the intro of this book.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, there's like, well, after the fight on the invisible hand when when Anakin and Obi-Wan are dealing with all the droids and the bodyguards, when Grievous flees, he kills one of his Nemoidian crew members just for annoying him, and he's like, and then it comes to Grievous's attention. He just killed the last living member of his crew.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He really gets through them. I like that the Magna Guards talk as well. There's a little bit of added history to those that I learned that. Well, I mean, I should have guessed this anyway because they're droids, but my boy Newt Gunray ponied up all the dough for these very, very expensive Magna Guards that almost bankrupted him because they're state-of-the-art design, apparently. Despite the fact that they can be
Jedi.
taken out very, very easily. I feel like the Magna Guards get a little bit more to do in the Invisible Hand segment. And
the whole point of the Magna, like it always struck me as weird how easily they're dispatched in the movie, because leading up to the movie, those guards were like built up to. They were like they were made to fight Jedi.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I really appreciate, because Grievous has always been a problem to me in that the design of the character is incredible, and to have the idea of this part alien, part robot, this cyborg character that is clearly linking into the foreshadowing of what, and I get the idea of what the three villains across the prequels were meant to represent for Anakin.
Not on purpose.
I feel like
way that was on purpose.
I feel like they should have just gone with one of those villains, because I think all three villains on their own are great, and it's just I wish I could have got more from them. Yeah,
like Dooku. Everyone's like, what if it was Maul? But what if it was Dooku? What if Dooku killed Qui-Gon?
Dooku as a character is just way more interesting, I think, and they don't do enough with his character, which is a crying shame, I think. There's moments
killed Qui-Gon.
There's moments as well between Obi-Wan and Grievous in this where one of the biggest problems that I have is it's meme worthy. It's great where Obi-Wan jumps down from the rafters to engage in combat with Grievous, and he just jumps into the surround of like 1,000 fucking battle droids. What was he thinking? I don't get Obi-Wan in the prequels. There's moments where he's calm and collected, and Anakin's the reckless one. And I know that Obi-Wan says that he used to be reckless back in his day, but not to the point where he's diving out of a window to grab a hold of like an assassin droid. Not to the point where he just jumps down into the surround of a million fucking battle droids. Ridiculous. The book smooths that out, and this is how I would have handled the scene as well. He waits patiently until the clone reinforcements show up to distract Grievous and all of the droids and to keep them occupied, and then he jumps down and engages in combat with Grievous. It just makes way more sense.
I don't think that's what happens. I think it goes. I now that I think about it, because I remember sections of like when the fight had already started. It talks about rappel lines and clones moving almost faster than they could fall down them.
I could be mistaken. I thought in the book that happens first before he starts properly fighting him. I know the lightsaber interaction comes much later.
Because I know they still have their dialogue before the fight, where because he tells them, I've been trained in your Jedi arts by Lord Tyrannus,
and I trained the guy who killed Dooku.
Yeah, I trained the man who killed him.
That was cool. That was cool.
Yeah.
Boga, the lizard as well, is named.
Boga. The dragon mounts, I believe you'll find.
The dragon mounts, yeah. There's the bit where he goes and picks it out, and I did.
Let's try that again. The dragon mount.
Sorry. Yes, I'm on it. And I don't know if this was maybe originally shot again, if this was an earlier concept, because that cut to the dragon arena, I guess, is very, very quick in the final movie, and Obi-Wan just rocks up on a giant fucking monitor lizard.
He just screwed over that guy who owns that. Like right before that happened, right before like when he writes that, right before the camera cuts to that, he says, "I have nothing to pay you. I hope you're okay with me liberating your planet, though." And then he says something in Powyn, which we can only assume is, "I don't know what you just said to me."
Yeah. Also, very, very progressive for 2025. Obi-Wan Kenobi doesn't assume Boga's gender, so which is great. He does assume the gender. Yeah, he does assume the gender.
The one, but he's not sure. The guy who didn't speak English doesn't.
But
No,
Boga
he doesn't
seemed
speak English. We don't know what he.
Boga seemed cool with it, and Boga as well, the real MVP of this whole entire story for me. Dives in the
Took
way
the
of
blast
the
for him.
mortar shell. Yeah, during Order 66, where Commander Cody's like, blast them. In the movie, it just like clips the segment of rock that they're scaling on the cliff, and they both take a tumble. In the novel, no, Boga does like the whole like, no, boom, and like jumps in the way of
Mr.
it.
President, no!
Yeah. Boga does a Mr. President, and I think they say like, and Boga just rained down from on high. I was like, oh my god. Like,
If you ever got two friends and a paintball gun, there's a really fun game called Mr. President Get Down, that where one person has to stand very publicly in like a podium-esque area, and the other person stands in a specific area, and they have a stop. They have a timer. They have like 30 seconds. They have like 10 seconds before they can shoot the president, and one person has to dive in the way.
Yeah,
or push him out of the way.
But I thought that Boga stuff was really cool. I guess in terms of yeah,
extra context. This is something I actually wanted to mention much earlier. All the stuff with Anakin and Palpatine. Some of the best television I've seen is the second half of season 2 of Hannibal, where the main character is going down a very dark path, and his relationship with Hannibal is really blooming because Hannibal is encouraging him to embrace the worst sides of himself, and you're getting that from Anakin and Palpatine in this. Like he's not telling him, the Sith are so great, aren't they? He's being like, what do you want, Anakin? It's okay that you want this. Like Anakin was right only because he wanted it. That's what it feels like to use the dark side. It's just being right because it's reinforced by your action.
Very much as the devil. Well, George Lucas says it himself. Signs a deal with the devil, and you definitely get that temptation, that devil on his shoulder all the way through this.
Before Monster Mash and pledges his allegiance to the Graveyard Smash.
Yeah, the lightning fried the bones in his face. Apparently, contorted his bones.
Does it? I didn't get that it says it's contorts his bone. Wait, now maybe that
makes the bones in his head bulge and contract and twist and
what it said. So in the book, I like that it's kind of vague. It said it could just as easily be, this is what Palpatine looks like. This is what he actually looks like now that the dark side has had its way with him. Because Palpatine looks in a mirror and he says, and so the mask becomes, or the man becomes the mask. I shall miss the face of Palpatine, I think. But for our purposes, the face of Sidious will do nicely. So either it's
that's a metaphor.
Like he was wearing either it's a metaphor and he was wearing it's not a metaphor and he was wearing a mask, or it's a metaphor and it's like when the Hound is reunited with Frankenstein the Mountain, and he looks at him and he's like, yeah, that's you. That's what you've always been.
Yeah. I think that does it for new scenes, I want to say. I mean, there's probably countless ones that we haven't mentioned, but those are sort of the main ones.
Jedi Babby, I did.
Oh, okay, good point. Okay, so this is actually alluded to in Lego Star Wars,
the very first one.
Yeah, the prequel trilogy one. So there's a moment where Yoda. So the two
came out before Revenge of the Sith.
The two playable characters
it's really spoiled before you get to it. Really is the mindset.
The two playable characters in that level are Yoda and Obi-Wan, and they approach a group of cloaked figures that initially have their backs to them. And they're clones. They're clones disguised as Jedi, post up outside the Jedi Temple in... the only reason I can assume that they're there is that if any Jedi do show up, the Jedi are going to go, oh, hey, there's a group of them over there. Let's go and chat with those guys. and then they turn around and they're all clones. It's fucking stupid. But I feel like there was a live action image released of this that I've seen, unless it was
no,
tinkered
the
with.
scene exists.
Does it?
The scene, it's the background is crap and Yoda is previs, but the clones are there. They're in their cloaks and they're like, "Oh, thank the Force, you're alive, Mr. Kenobi and Mr. Yoda.
I don't get this plan.
Secured the temple. We have secured the temple, but we don't know if there will be another attack." And Yoda says something that they didn't record, so there's a subtitle. And then Obi-Wan says, "You clones make terrible Jedi." And then they just whip out their blasters and start shooting.
Mm-hmm. I don't get the plan,
fight, which leads into Yoda doing this.
Because they're clones. They're quite obviously clones. I don't understand why this even made it into the fucking script, let alone it was filmed. Anyway, it's in the Lego game, and you have them approaching, and that's when you have that fight, that quick little glimpse of the fight outside.
But how do they do it in the book, Chris?
I'm so glad you asked. Right, we're going to tell the listeners at home. So, initially, Obi-Wan approaches as a hooded, hunchback figure who's carrying a bundle in his arm, which he says is a baby. Now, for some reason, he adopts a different voice. A babby, yeah. It's like, I've got a babby in my hands here. Yeah, like proper Cockney. He's like, I reckon it was one of them Jedi babbies. I found it. Here it is, kind of thing. You fucking cunt.
And how do you know it's a Jedi baby?
My lightsaber is your first clue.
And then he kills them.
It's so cringe. You just got like Yoda with a fucking pacifier in his mouth. Just have you seen Zootopia? The Disney movie?
I haven't.
There's a Fennec Fox character, and he's like a con man, but he masquerades as like a little baby, and he has a pacifier in his mouth. Obviously, Fennec Foxes have like the big ears. This is how I imagine this scene went down. It's so awful and terrible. And if this is in the original script, then what the fuck was George smoking? I don't get it. It's awful. Like, what did the clones just immediately know Kenobi's voice
in the script? There's no way.
I don't know, man, because we have the filmed scene. I know it's different a bit, but it's too weird.
Considerably.
It's too weird.
So fucking weird.
It's too weird, but it's too specifically weird. This had to have been in a script. Anyway, I'm glad that didn't make it into the final movie. Is it weird that there's only a handful of clones posed up outside the Jedi Temple in the actual movie? Yes, that's also weird. But
I like that after they kill them, they're like, let's not bother hiding the bodies. They're clones. Yeah. They're like the best soldiers. If we move them from their post, everyone would know that they're dead anyway.
Yeah, yeah. I think that does it for those scenes. Should we talk about the omitted scenes? So the scenes that were filmed that we know of that were neither used in the movie or the novel. And the biggest one is the one that's in the thumbnail right there. I was convinced, because this got so far into production. You look at the CGI's finished on Grievous and on the droids. You've got Shark T there in full makeup and full regalia. This made it really, really far into the production, and I was convinced because of that.
I think what happened was, if you go back, because you see half of it is Anakin and her doing basically the same thing. I think the Anakin one is a pickup, and that was it made it in, and then it was decided like 6 months in that they're like, because all the VFX on the one in the temple are really, like, if you see it, it's very weak. So I think the one with Grievous was sitting in the movie for a while, and then I guess for some reason they decided in the 2D animated thing to not. So okay, I'm assuming they removed that for pacing, and then they added the section of her being just incapacitated to the 2D Clone Wars. And I'm assuming that it even made it to the novel, because they leave the bridge. They leave the hangar of the the invisible hand. They sense Count Dooku. They sense a trap. They have a plan. Spring the trap.
Mm-hmm.
And then it cuts to Dooku looking at them through the cameras, and they get chased into an elevator. And then he has that scene that somebody has made with AI, where Dooku talks about looking forward to spending the rest of the war as just a hostage with dignity and grace, and just switching sides and letting the separatists be the bad guys. And he's so racist. Dooku is so racist. Like, he's teamed up with all these aliens, so then when he joins the Republic at the end, they could vilify all aliens.
Mm-hmm.
But so that scene, but then right from that scene, we go into they arrive at the general's quarters where Palpatine is being held, which means that all the which means that any point where the Shaak Ti scene would have been either right before or right after that. When they get to the general's quarters, Anakin does like a motion with his hand, like a silent communication, and Obi-Wan says, "Rescue Anakin, not mayhem,"
Mm-hmm.
which is pulled directly from the scene with Shaak Ti, because there's like, "Rescue Anakin, not mayhem. May I suggest there's far too many of them for that."
And Grievous is just waiting, and the droids are just waiting and just letting all this play out. They're just not doing anything. Yeah, I was surprised to not see it in the novel, but then
good idea. And then they cut through the floor.
Yeah, and then that would lead
to be above the fuel.
Yeah, they're in like the fuel lines or whatever it is, and they're pursued by droids, and they have to get out. So all of that scene's not in there. The scene where Anakin speaks in droid, like not even in his own voice, he actually has a proper droid sound that comes out of his own vocal cords, which is just weird and bizarre.
Translator is broken. Do you
There's
do you have any idea what he's saying? "I'm not a protocol droid. I think beep means down. I sense Count Dooku is above us. Oh, yes. Beep means up."
It's awful. It's awful. Like, what the fuck was that? They also admit in the novel anyway, which makes me assume that this was a decision much later. The wacky hijinks with the super battle droids and R2D2, like.
Oh, yeah. Well, you say that, but on the bridge, R2 uses his cable, his dragon cable that Grievous has a very similar one that he uses to pull himself back to the ship after he jumps out the window. And R2 later uses it to drag Padme up the loading ramp.
Her unconscious body after Anakin chokes her on Mustafar, yeah. Because you always wonder how they got her back to the ship. Like C-3PO says, like, "Oh yes, we have Miss Padme on board." Yes, and I guess I've just never even thought of it.
I just thought she might have walked. Like, she might have. They were like, "Here, let's get you there. And then she just collapses into the bed. That's
3PO can't even bend down, can he? Like, how does he help?
A little.
Because I'm just imagining, in Attack of the Clones, where R2D2 detaches 3PO's head, and this is such a drag. I'm just imagining that
piece.
I'm just imagining that, but with Padme.
So he uses that on the arm cannon of the battle droid, and he just uses it to eviscerate all the other battle droids and members of the crew, except for that one that Grievous kills at the end.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that was my last one. All right.
Speaking of Grievous, just going back real quick, his death scene, or his actual death, is a lot more brutal in the novel as well compared to what we get in the movie. It's played for laughs a little bit in the movie. He gets shot like a few times. It's played for
laughs in the movie, but what's described is what happens.
Yeah, like his fucking brain, like it just like fires through his head, doesn't
in
he?
An organ sac, which exactly, literally combusts, erupting it through his head, which we see happen. But it's funny, which, by the way, if we edit that, shoot chest, shoot, head explodes.
Yes, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. Let's see. Omitted scenes. Anything else that we can think of? So scenes that we know exist that are not in the novel.
Not off the top of my head. Not. I feel like.
I mean, it's mostly Jedi. It's mostly Jedi Temple stuff, but that could have just been a video game thing for me. That I thought we would get more stuff there. Towards the end as well, some of the action beats. Some of the other stuff that I was assuming, but I know that this was previs, and this was probably just George Lucas or the animators just coming up with little vignettes, almost like, oh well, we'll do some fun things with previs and see if this makes it in there. I thought there'd be, that moment in the previs between Yoda versus Palpatine in the Senate, and there's the big TV screen. I thought that, especially when we had the audio recording from Palpatine in his office earlier, I thought they'd do more stuff with like the broadcast. That's not in the book either, so that was all probably just previs for the fight. I get the impression that if this is based on an earlier script, George Lucas would have storyboarded some stuff out, specifically Mustafar, because it does go through all the stages. It goes to the bit where they're on like the metal thing, which falls into the lava, goes down the river, and whatnot.
First draft of the script, there was a lot of they fight.
Yes, because I was going to say and you mentioned this earlier, towards the end of the book, it moves at a much faster pace. Yeah, it's you do get the impression that the lightsaber fights aren't described as much. There's not as much detail on it. It's more broad strokes towards the end, which is very, very unlike the intro on the Invisible Hand, as you said, which occupies almost half of the actual book.
It's not it's like a third of the book. It's like a quarter of the book.
I was listening to the audiobook of this, and I mentioned to you, I said, have I really only got like a couple of hours left on this thing, because we're only at this point in the story? And you were like, yeah, no, it just moves really quick towards the end. So there's barely any Jedi Temple stuff. The stuff on Mustafar, I was going to say, doesn't feel as epic as the movie. Of course it doesn't. You don't have the score. That's actually a mark against the audiobook, I'll say, is that I feel very, very spoilt to have listened to the Darth Plagueis novel, the Darth Plagueis audiobook before this, because that makes so much better use of sound effects and music throughout. As I said to you, I finished the Darth Plagueis audiobook and I was like, I just watched Star Wars movie. I just watched Star Wars episode 0.5. That's how I felt. It immersed me that much. And Star Wars is a visual medium for me. And I feel like I do need those sound effects and I do need that music there. And when the music is used in the audiobook, it's very effective. It just doesn't do it anywhere near enough for me. So those epic moments, those big cinematic moments are significantly lesser so in the book, which is to be expected. You've got a visual medium and you've got the written medium there. But even then, like we say that George Lucas probably wrote a lot of they fight, and that's probably true. But even then, the actual Battle of Mustafar was all planned out. Even in the novel, there's the bit, as I mentioned, where they're on the big metal frame that detaches and falls in the lava. There's the bit where they swing. There's the bit where they make it onto the floating robots and platforms and whatnot. So it's all there. It's all there, I think.
Yeah, it's there. You've got the Tarzan fight. You've even got a moment when the thing goes over the lava fall where Obi-Wan is like, "Goodbye, Anakin."
Whereas in the movie we have it from Anakin's perspective, where he makes that dash and jump. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
There's something about Obi-Wan stabbing the platform that he lands on. He stabs it to stop its autopilot, whatever, and he has to sort of sidestep to direct where he wants it to move, which I thought was
surprised that wasn't in the video game.
Yeah. I've always found it weird, though, that bit where he makes a jump onto the bank and he's like, I have the high ground. I'm like, Anakin, just take the platform down the river like a couple of feet. No, because he's like, you underestimate my power, and he feels like he's rising to the challenge. But what I'm saying is that fight could have easily continued. No, Anakin just needed to go down.
The fight does continue. It's from the earlier script when it happens because he doesn't jump.
I thought he did, because he still mentions that as he was arcing in the air, his lightsaber cut through his right leg and then his left leg and then curved around and severed his arm.
Okay, because he says his parry cut through his legs and his arm. I thought it was a I thought the fight had continued a little bit on there because I know
Well, he says that
was in the
his
script at one
body
point.
fell from the air to the ground after his legs and arm had went. So I assume he still did the jump. What I like as well is that Obi-Wan considers killing Anakin. And I think there was even a scene that was shot, right? Wasn't it? Or this was an edit that someone
No,
did where
I
he
did
goes,
that.
"Oh, was that you?" See, I thought that was actual behind the scenes then for a second.
No, I'm just playing the footage backwards.
Yeah, he considers going to kill Anakin, and he's like, "No, I don't think I will." But then the thing that really makes that decision for him is that Palpatine is already on his way there. He is very, very nearby, and if Obi-Wan doesn't get out of there soon, then he's going to be found, and he's probably going to be killed. He's almost certainly going to be killed. So
on top of that, rule of threes, we get the same thing happening 3 times, but it happens differently the third time to make a point. And Anakin is not a Jedi. Mace Windu isn't even a Jedi, but Obi-Wan is the Jedi.
Mhm.
Because Anakin has an enemy at his mercy, an unarmed enemy at his mercy, and Anakin cuts his head off. Mace Windu has an unarmed enemy at his mercy, and he's going to stab him with his lightsaber. Obi-Wan is not going to kill Anakin because he's an unarmed person just completely at his mercy.
Literally.
And he's Jedi, and it's not it. Okay, moving on to the review.
hang on. No, we've got a big scene that was omitted. I don't think it was filmed. I don't think they could get a hold of him at the time, and this has sort of been used in Clone Wars a little bit. Qui-Gon at the very end.
Yes, you're right. This is we get because we barely even have this as a deleted scene. So yeah, this is a good place for this.
So this is on Paulis Massa towards the end.
Yoda sometimes hears the Force with the voice of Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
And then this is the moment where he realizes he's actually been talking to Qui-Gon, which I would say supports the idea that he can be seen at the end of Return of the Jedi, because it means over time, since his death, he is becoming more self. And so by now he's just a voice, but by the original trilogy, you could potentially see him.
I thought there was a moment in the novelization. This must be in a different source book somewhere. I thought that Qui-Gon did mention that he learned this power from a shaman of the Wills, and I thought that was first mentioned in the novelization.
That's in the Clone Wars.
Ah, okay. I thought that was in a book or a script, because it's the priestesses in the Clone Wars. There was a bit where George Lucas mentions that he learned it.
Those are the priestesses of the Wills.
I know, but I mean, this was written before the priestesses were made in the Clone Wars, and Lucas said it was a shaman. Yeah, he said it was a shaman of the Wills.
That could have easily just been an interview where he's just like, Qui-Gon, before the events of the Phantom Menace, he traveled to the center of the universe and met a shaman of the Wills. George, what are you talking about? What are the Wills? They're like the midichlorians, but smarter.
Oh, he's got in more depth on the Wills, so I'll give him that. I don't know. Do you think this would have been really weird to have Qui-Gon's voice just show up at the end of the movie? Do you think it's better what we get in the final movie, where Yoda just says, "Oh yeah, Qui-Gon's made it back. I'm going to teach you how to commune with him"? Do you think it's better we just get that, or do you think we should have gone full blown Liam Neeson voice?
Either way, we're really getting the same amount of context. I don't think one is necessarily. I guess inherently adding the Qui-Gon thing is better, but it's like, not
why
necessary.
now? Why now? He's mentioned that he's appeared to him before, but
like he said, like it says, because he was weak, because this is when he's able to do it. Like, his training wasn't like, this is going into the Clone Wars, but his training wasn't complete upon death. It's taken him 13 years to become a disembodied voice.
Oh, so this is the moment where he's got it sorted. What I'm saying is he couldn't have spoken to Yoda during Attack of the Clones. Like, hey,
but he does. Like, literally throughout the years,
Yeah.
The Force has spoken to him in the voice of Qui-Gon.
Okay.
And that's Qui-Gon trying to be like, Yoda!
Yeah,
Yoda!
so what I'm saying is then why couldn't Qui-Gon have instructed Yoda back in like fucking Attack of the Clones days or whatever?
Because with all of that effort, with the vague semblance that he is, all he can say is Anakin, Anakin, no.
Well, he says Anakin, Anakin, and then some voice actor came in and went,
Shut up! That's
"Oh!"
Qui-Gon. Or Anakin, Anakin, no! If you use Clash of the Titans for audio.
So Qui-Gon was waiting in the wings
It doesn't
until
sound as good as you'd hope.
everything went to shit. I was like, oh, okay, Yoda's actually having a quiet moment on Polis Massa right now. I'm going to finally tell him how to become immortal. This is my moment.
Yes.
Great.
Also, the Shakti scene at the temple, that's actually in there, like her only scene, when Anakin is going to, so Anakin, Mace Windu told everybody. They all knew, like, it's not just the three Jedi he took with him. He got on the phone, he told Yoda. Shakti knows because she's like, Anakin, thank you so much for what you've done. And he's just like, get the fuck out of my way.
Oh yeah, it's when he's
You're
going
in
to
the
the
way of
keypad,
the
isn't
door.
he? Yeah.
Yeah. And she's like, Anakin, what could you possibly do? And I swear to God, I thought he was going to say, I will do what I must.
Oh, there are some lines towards the end when he's fighting Obi-Wan. What's that Vader line that he has when he's fighting Obi-Wan? I mentioned it to you after I listened to that part in the book.
When he's fighting,
I'm gonna have to scroll back through our conversation because that's gonna drive me nuts.
Just real quick, the moment there is a moment in this book where Anakin actually turns to the dark side, like he becomes who will become Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
It's in Padme's ruminations. It's one sentence. It's in one hand he weighed Padme's life, and in the other he weighed that of the Jedi Order, and found it was no contest at all.
Mm-hmm.
So he's gonna go kill some children.
Really, really trying to find this line because I was not too amused by it at all. God, we send a lot of memes to each other. Jesus Christ. Well, I send them to you, definitely.
Anakin's butt.
What's the fucking Vader line that he has?
Scroll through Facebook. I send you memes because you scroll through. You send me memes because you scroll through Facebook. I send you clips because I scroll through YouTube.
What are some like? Oh, hang on. I know.
Like, what is it about? It's during the fight.
Yeah, I know. I put an unamused expression on my face when I sent you the message. So stall for time.
I mean, well, I'm just gonna then. I like this book. Can you put up the next thing? Because I can't. I really can't stall for time unless we do that.
I was gonna say though, Shark T. The many deaths of Shark T across all forms of Star Wars media. How many times has this bitch died? So in the same movie, she's died twice. Yes. Then in Lego Star Wars, I think she dies the same way as the left-hand image there, I think.
No, okay. Oh yeah, no, so 5 times. So you get the 2 in the movie, in the deleted scenes. You get in Lego Star Wars when they turn the security hologram, it's just her standing there like, bye! And then somebody cuts her into 3 pieces, and then it turns out to be Anakin.
Yeah.
In Clone Wars, when Yoda goes through her. Well, hang on. In Clone Wars, when Yoda has his Qui-Gon quest, he sees the deleted scene where she gets stabbed in the back through the neck by Anakin. I'm assuming. Mm-hmm. And then in The Force Unleashed, she gets fed to a big Rancor on Felucia.
That's it. Yeah, but there's 2 versions of The Force Unleashed. There's the PS2 version. There's the PS3 version. So does she die in a different way in the PS2? I can't remember. I think she dies in a different way in the
basically the same.
Yeah.
It's like the thing is they're made by different developers, but they were given the same script and same audio. So there was plenty of creative liberties to be taken.
Right. I can't find
You're
this.
Still looking for this.
I can't find this Vader line. Trust me when I say that when Anakin is fighting Obi-Wan on Mustafar, he drops a Vader line like directly from those OT films, and I was like, why? Why would you do this?
Wait, directly from the OT films?
Yes.
Don't make me destroy you.
That's it. Was it that one?
He says it.
Does he?
Also, I will say, he says, "If you're not with me, then you're against me," which isn't an homage to a George Bush quote. That's just a George Bush quote.
There's also a lot more. We see a lot more of Anakin's greed, I guess, in this as well from Palpatine.
He's so possessive of Padme when he she's literally crying in front of him, and he's like, "Yes, those translucent jewels crawling down her face. Those are mine. I earned those."
Mm-hmm. Well, there were bits.
Hear a person laugh.
I was I was maybe reading into this scene a little bit too much, but I think isn't that the joy of Star Wars? The bit where they specifically say that 2 tears fell down her face and he put his robotic hand on hers and wiped them away. I was like, are those 2 tears meant to be the twins, like Luke and Leia a little bit?
Oh my god.
And I don't know. I was reading into it a little bit too much, maybe, but I thought that was cool. I love the image of where
you saw the 2 inauthentic things in the shop when I didn't.
I don't know how you didn't get that. I thought that was quite blatant.
I only watched it the one time, and I was busy asking myself, okay, so who knows what?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wasn't looking for subcontext. I was looking for context.
But I think the bit where
subtext, I was looking for context.
It specifically says like he placed his robotic hand on her face. At that moment, particularly in the story, I thought was really, really well handled. But yeah, so it starts off that. Yeah, it starts off that Anakin is essentially looking for a place to settle down to get away from everything with Padme, and he says like, "Hey, could we have like this apartment like there for me, Padme, and my child?" And Palpatine's like, "Done." He's like, do you just want an apartment? I can get you the whole building. You can have the whole apartment complex if you want.
It's privately owned.
He's like, yeah, not anymore. He's like, I can do anything. I am the Senate. I can do anything I want.
Apparently this scene is at night because Anakin then looks at a constellation above the temple. And he's like, all right, I want Corellia.
Yeah.
The system or the planet.
Yeah. It's like the genie at the end of Aladdin is, where it's like, wish for something crazy. Say, I wish for the Nile. Wish for that. And that's what the Palpatine's like. He's like, you can have Corellia, the planet.
You can have the system. No, the system's a bigger deal. Like, he would have given him either.
That'll be like Casa del Skywalker. There you go, right there.
And then he's given the same offer later, and he's like, Mustafar.
Yeah.
Evil castle.
Well, at least you'll be safe there. I mean, it is a volcanic planet after all, so.
Corellian hell. What?
There's a scene that I thought, again, was in an earlier version of the script, which I thought may have found its way into the novel, because I was actually looking forward to hearing this monologue, because I thought, oh, maybe I might be able to glean something from this. I thought in an early draft of the script, Palpatine directly said during the Opera House scene to Anakin that he is his father.
No, it would be in the reveal scene.
Because I thought he mentioned about like the midichlorians creating life, and he's like, "That's right."
Yeah,
Anakin.
no, but
I am your father.
Okay, so that would be in the scene where he reveals himself to Anakin, because there is a line in this where he says, "You remember the legend I told you? It wasn't just a legend. Darth Plagueis was my master. He learned to create life with the midichlorians," and I think that's where the line was removed.
There's still no moment where, and again, Red Letter Media mentioned this as well, where he's like, "Oh, we will keep her from dying," and then he's like, "Oh, we will discover the secret." Maybe
only my master knew that. Wait, but you said he taught you.
And he's like, "Anyway, go and kill children now." And he's like, "Okay."
By the way, I'm now looking for that line.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much the novelization. I think we've gone through most of the things in there. We're coming up to 2 hours 10 minutes, so I think we'll probably round off.
Let's go to nothing will stop the review of the Sith.
I think with Masamida and Sly Moore, I now know the name. Thank you, novelisation.
They be fucking.
They do. They do be fucking. And Sly Moore is mentioned in Andor season 1 as well, attending a dinner party
He's at the party.
At Mon Mothma's place. Yeah. I mean, they just look
I'm
evil.
trying to find this quote for you now. They really do. Like, there's literally a part where Mas Amedda sneers at Anakin, and it's like, but that's a Chagrian smile.
I mean, look at him. He looks like one of the Blue Wizards. He's got a staff.
And then Anakin gets a little racist. He's like, suddenly he hoped that the council was right, because they think that that Sidious, thanks to the book Labyrinth of Evil, they know that Sidious is probably somebody who lives at 500 Republica, which is where Padme lives. And he's likely a member of Palpatine's inner circle. In fact, the only reason it's not Palpatine, they don't think it's Palpatine, is because he already rules the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Really, guys.
So let's review this thing then. We'll review the novel first, and then we'll just sort of give a wrap up as to which one we prefer. My review on this thing, I'm glad I've got round to, I was going to say reading it, listening to it at least. That's 2 Star Wars books down now. You've definitely got a lot more on me in terms of Star Wars Expanded Universe content, but I'm getting there, one novel at a time. I'm glad that I listened to this, because this is the closest we're probably ever going to get to that prophesized 4-hour cut, the extended cut of Revenge of the Sith, with all of that juicy added material in there that we know of. So it was nice to. Well, yeah,
it was. You got the deleted scenes, you got the video game, and you got the animatics. Something could probably be done. Plus AI. So I mean, I would want one thing. I would like. I think the rough draft of that would be involve the audio from the audiobook of the scenes that would get translated over.
Mm-hmm. So I liked it in that regard. It did flesh out some scenes, or at least now when I watch the actual movie, I can go, oh, okay, so I know what was originally meant to be in there and why that scene's there now. Again, you shouldn't have to do that. The film should speak for itself, but the things that I didn't like, and oh god, I'm sorry, Matthew Stover here. I hated the way that this book was written. And I'm not talking about the dialogue from George Lucas. I'm talking about the actual way that this book was put together. The strained, agonizing, awful metaphors that are just constantly throughout this book. Bizarre like sidesteps in the book where they talk about Anakin's butt for a paragraph or two. Very, very strange choices. I didn't like the asides like, this is how Anakin was feeling in this moment right now. I'm like, a good author wouldn't have to tell his he wouldn't have to tell his he wouldn't have to tell his reader what the character's feeling. We'd get that anyway. We'd get it anyway from the story. We'd know what's happening.
Well, no. A filmmaker doesn't need to tell you what the audience, what the character is feeling. The benefit of it being a book is you can just tell us what the character is feeling.
We get it though,
and
from moments.
But no. Yes, but I'm just going to go ahead and say I like these framing devices. This is Anakin Skywalker. This is Obi-Wan. This is Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is Mace Windu.
We know. This is towards the end of the book. It's like, this is Anakin Skywalker. I'm like, yep, we established that in Act 1. I know who this character is.
Oh, but no. But the thing is, this is Anakin Skywalker, like the ones you get before it, and then at the very end, because you got, this is what it's like to be Anakin Skywalker, and it's like, this is the regular, this is what it's like to be Anakin Skywalker leading up to this book. And then after he defeats Dooku and he sees the end of the war is near, this is what it's like to be Anakin Skywalker for now. And it's like the best he's been in a while. And then at the end, it says, this is what it's like to be Anakin. Oh, no. Then when he finds out Palpatine is the Sith, it's like, this is what it's like to be Anakin Skywalker. You're in a state. You don't remember putting your lightsaber away. You don't remember being in this room. You don't remember drinking the water that's been handed to you. You just remember that the man you've trusted your entire life it's all been a lie. And then finally you get it at the end, right before in the second to last page, or the last 2 pages, or 2 of the last 3 pages. Shit. This is what it feels to be Anakin Skywalker forever. So we got moments during the book, we got what it was like before the book, and then we get what it will be like for the rest of his life after the book. And it's horrible. It's the use of language about how he's always burning. He will, like, part of him will always, like, the light, as soon as the light touches your eyes, it burns. Part of you will always be burning on the side of a volcanic shore in when you speak, because you say, Padme, are you here? Are you all right? But it's not your voice. It's deeper than your voice.
Padme, are you here? Are you all right?
I'm sorry, my friend. It seems she died. In your anger, you killed her. And it also makes mention, this is something that's come up a few times in a different book and in the canon comics. He tries to strike at Palpatine with the Force, but it's a sign of how weak he is now. That his it's like with Grievous and emotion and all other feelings. He doesn't have these feelings, but he remembers them. When Grievous knows he's about to kill a Jedi, he remembers what joy is like. He doesn't feel joy. He's not programmed to feel joy, but he remembers what joy is like. And Vader remembers the power that he had, but he's a fraction of himself.
I think these asides go on for way too long, and to be honest, I don't feel like we
look at
glean
this fucking book. Of course they go on for fucking long.
I don't think that we really glean any new information that we didn't already know about this character. There's moments where I don't know.
The second to last one I know was added.
Let's
go back to. Can you bring back the one about deleted thing, or deleted the with Shakti, novel omission, when the second half, so Anakin, so when this is Anakin Skywalker, you don't remember everything. This half I think was added later because when Palpatine reveals himself, he's like Anakin just doesn't know what to do and he stays with Palpatine, and that happens in the original script, and then he's there for the fight with Windu. And I think this extra part that ends with him saying, I'm going to go tell the council about you, that was added later.
There's bits, for example, that the ones that I drew the most reference to were towards the beginning, actually, I think, when they were making their approach to the Invisible Hand. I think it's where the clones are saying, like, they're all over me, and Anakin's like, I'll go help them out, and he's like, no, you can't save everyone, Anakin. You can't save everyone. And Anakin sort of like
wish I
away,
could.
and he's like, don't remind me, or something like that. He says something like that, and I
get the feeling that's Lucas,
and I got it. Like,
the fact that it's integrated into the dialogue tells me that's probably Lucas.
Mm-hmm. But he's like, Anakin, you can't save everyone. And Anakin, looks forlorn, looks away. I got it. Everything I needed about that character, I got in that moment. I know that he's upset because he didn't get to save his mom, and that's, still weighing on his mind. And knowing where the story's going with Padme, I knew everything about it. Then Matthew Stover chimes in. Anakin was really sad, and he wished he could save everyone. He remembered the time that his mum died in the previous movie, and he was really sad about it. This is how it feels to be Anakin. He is very sad right now because his mum died in the previous movie, and he wishes that he could save people now in this moment. Right now, he wishes he could save everyone. Padme, Obi-Wan, all
Hold the fucking
clones.
phone.
And I'm like, what are we doing?
I'm getting a double standard in your critique here entirely, because putting this stuff like from Anakin's past about what he couldn't save and what he's afraid to lose. Complaining about it feels like it's all white. This is the opening. This is the opening that spoils the story for us. You're saying, like, if you're going into this not knowing, if you're going into this with fresh eyes, then you shouldn't.
No.
See that. But if you don't have that context,
no, dude, stop. It's implied if you're at the third book in a series, it's implied that you have fucking read the first and the second.
No, this is not the third book in a series. This is the Revenge of the Sith is the third. Like you need to understand, the original trilogy, even those three books contradict each other. This is not the third book in a series. This is novelization of Revenge of the Sith, which is the third movie in a trilogy. There is also a novelization of the other two movies in that trilogy. They are not a trilogy. This is the second book in a trilogy.
What are you talking about? It's episode 3. I'm saying if someone has read the novelization...
This is not the third book in the trilogy. Like, though you don't do that.
It's episode 3. It's episode 3.
But you don't do that. Like, these are the novelizations of the movie. This isn't like, oh, I'm going to read book 1. This isn't book 1. This is the novel of book 3. This is the novel of movie. This is book 2 of a completely different trilogy.
You're literally holding a book in your hands that's titled Episode 3, and you're like, this is not.
No, it isn't.
This is not Episode 3.
This is not titled Episode 3. This is Star Wars Revenge of the Sith.
Oh, it's the fucking.
It does not say Revenge Episode 3 on this book.
But it's Episode 3, you fuck. You know it's Episode 3. Stop being pedantic.
It's not, though. Because it is. Because this is quite. Because you have to be pedantic for it to be the third book in a trilogy. Because it's actually, when you're literal, the second book in a trilogy.
Phantom Menace novelization and Attack of the Clones came out before, right?
Labyrinth of Evil, Revenge of the Sith novelization, Dark Lord of the Sith. Those are actually 3 books that you're supposed to read with each other. Like, those were made to be read together. Those 3 books are a series.
But are you refuting the fact that Phantom Menace is Episode 1 and Attack of the Clones is Episode 2 and Revenge of the Sith is Episode 3?
I've made it pretty clear that that's true.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, if you're coming to this book knowing that these are based on the Star Wars movies, then you have probably read, or should have read, or at least know the story of, Episode 1, Phantom Menace, Episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
You probably already have this context too. You know, especially if you've seen the trailer.
What page are you on right now? What context? You're holding up a page that I can't. No, because that was good shit. Because that was like about the public perception of them on Coruscant.
No, I'm literally talking about a long time ago. It cannot.
Yeah, I told you I hated that. I told you that like an hour ago.
I know.
I hated that.
I know, but I'm saying that perception completely contradicts what you're saying now. Because
no, it doesn't.
But if you haven't read the books before it,
that's my point. Is that you will know the story before. I was talking about after. I don't like a book starting off going, by the way, this book ends really badly, and like Anakin's gonna like turn to the dark side, and everything's gonna go to shit, and all the Jedi are gonna die. I don't like knowing
that, but it does say that this is a tragedy, and shit's going to shit.
Knowing.
Oh
my god, can I get my point out? I don't like that being on page 1 of a book that I'm about to read. I would like that to be a surprise if it's me discovering this story for the first time. But this is the third episode in a fucking saga. I will have known the story, what's happened before in the stuff in episode 1 and the stuff in episode 2, whether I've watched the movies of those 2 respective films or whether I've read the novelization of those 2 respective films. My point is that the point is construed by a character in the events that are happening, and then Matthew Stover likes to chime in for like a fucking chapter and a half with forced metaphors describing shit that he already just explained in the events of the film. It's telling me after I've been told it. It's putting a hat on top of a hat, and it's pointless.
Except you haven't been told it yet. It's not in this book.
What are you? I just gave an example of the fucking shit with Shmi. There's a bit with a bit with Vader
The
at
shit
the
with
end.
Shmi isn't in the book. Like, it's established in that it, like, as far as this individual book, this one book that does not number itself in a series, this one book is concerned.
Oh my god, he's not getting it. He's not getting it. I'm not going to mention it again.
We're
coming up to 2.5 hours. I am not doing this.
This is like the definition of try all over again. This isn't a difference of opinion. You're just wrong.
The fucking
like,
strength
Chris,
anymore.
Do you understand that this?
He's not getting it. A different opinion.
This is the book. This is the length of the Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones novels.
I don't give a shit about the length of it. I'm talking about the contents of the story. I never said like, the book's too.
Like as if they were written to be read in succession. They weren't.
You asked me my opinion on the book. I am giving my opinion on the book. I think I think all the wankery asides by Matthew Stover adds nothing and pads the book out, and the metaphors are completely strained and awful and often very, very fucking cringeworthy.
We're on a completely different point here.
I don't need 3 pages at the end of the book saying, oh, Darth Vader was in a lot of pain and was really angry and miserable and nasty. I know he just had his fucking arms and legs cut off. He's been operated on. He's been turned into a cyborg and Padme's fucking dead. I don't need that point reinforced tenfold over the course of fucking strained monologues right after that, saying that Darth Vader's now an evil man and he's done all of these bad things. I know he's done all these bad things because the fucking story told me he did all those things. It's pointless. As I say, it's putting a hat on top of a hat. It's completely irrelevant and pointless. And that was my least favorite stuff about the book. And it happens a lot. Anakin's dragon. You know that Matthew Stover was really fucking proud of that. You know he was just fucking stroking tip as he was typing this out. I'm like, oh yeah, this is really artsy and they're going to lap this shit up. I'm like, no, this is cringe. This is awful. Read it back. It's terrible. That was the stuff that I didn't like. The stuff that I liked was seeing George Lucas's story. We assume maybe there were some embellishments in there from the author of this novel, but just seeing that full story and some of the glimpses into some of the extended scenes, deleted scenes that we'd heard of, seeing it all played out, that was my favorite stuff. Some which enhanced the story, some which I felt were I'm kind of glad this was cut out in the final release.
So extended scenes that could have been in the movie, A-okay, using the medium to its fullest. Fuck that shit.
What do you mean?
It's a book.
Yes, and a book can be...
You have the opportunity to literally take your audience and put them in the head of your character. You can't do that in anything else. And you're saying, no, it should all be implied with subtext. That's how you make a movie, and it's how you make a pretty good movie, I will say. But the fact is, this movie was severely lacking that subtext, and this book gives it that subtext.
I like subtlety in a story and moments. I don't need something overtly told to me when I already got it. It's pointless.
Congratulations, Chris! You got it. I'm so proud of you for getting it, but that doesn't mean there's no reason to expand on it and write it. Like, there's literally like where did you get that? There's no point lashing out against Palpatine because all you have is yourself, and you can't. Hang on, God damn it! Now I need to actually read this fucking thing. I have shit to do tonight. We've been doing this for 2.5 hours.
You're just not. It's fine if you like those asides. That's fine.
I do
Power
like those
to
asides.
you. I know Chris, you do because you've been arguing
the point
it.
Of the argument you missed the point of the argument I was making earlier. This is still not meant like there. Yes. These happen in succession. They are the novelizations of things meant to be read watched in succession.
That was my point.
But these books were written on an individual level for the movies, and when the things written in the previous books contradict the future movies, they said fuck it and wrote it anyway.
Okay.
Meanwhile,
That was
this
never my
book
point.
is the second book in a trilogy that was written on purpose with each other in mind.
Yes. Labyrinth of Evil and the fucking Dark Side, the Darth Vader, Dark Side, Evilman, whatever it's called. Yes.
Yes. So as a new person reading these books, are they?
Why do we always have to
Are they
pad a video
supposed-
out with half hour at the end? We were succinct. We had it. What happened? I was giving my review.
Because this book is not really meant to. Because I stand by, this book is not meant to be read with the other two books.
Well, what a pointless episode 3 it is then.
But it's not episode 3. It literally does not say episode 3. This is the Revenge of the Sith.
But we know that Revenge of the Sith is the novelization of episode 3. Where I'm not going to keep belaboring my point. I've argued my take on it.
Presenting itself, because this clearly isn't presenting itself as the third part. This is just the story of the Revenge of the Sith. It's not being like, hey, remember as it's not alluding to things in the other book that it hasn't said what happened for the reader. Like, it needs to tell us about events beforehand, and then it can allude to them. It can't just be like what it can't just no. It can't just make allusions to what happens to Anakin's mother and then not explain. Because this isn't the third book. This is just a book.
Okay.
Do you get what I'm saying? Do you see the point that I am making?
And as a book, I think the asides don't add jack shit to the story, because I think you get all of the complexities of the character within the events being told and within the descriptions of those events being told. The asides are a hat on a hat, as I've said multiple times. There's a moment where, I don't know, let's take the bit where Palpatine says that Padme may be having an affair with Obi-Wan, right? He tells him this information, and Anakin's really angry and upset about that. Matthew Stover will then take a paragraph or two to say, this is what it feels like to be Anakin. He's really angry and mistrustful that Obi-Wan may have had an affair with Padme. Padme may have had an affair with Obi-Wan. Palpatine has just told me this information.
Good thing the book doesn't do that.
He reinforces a point.
Like, it's a good thing that's not in the book. But it doesn't do that. Like, that's literally not what it does.
I'm done.
What how it feels to be Anakin Skywalker. He's utterly broken that his father figure has lied to him forever, and he's completely disconnected. We didn't get that in the previous story. Previous chapter. That's what this chapter is.
Is it just me? He's not getting it, is he? He's not getting my point. What I'm saying. I'm just gonna. I'm not gonna. We're going around. We've been going around the houses for half hour, dude. I'm gonna fucking end the stream here. Let's bring up some comments.
I'm specifically saying it's not like spelling it out in this one. You're saying, hi, this part here when it does it, and I'm saying, but it doesn't do it there. It does it here, and it does it to expand on things it hasn't expanded on.
When Vader gets put in the suit and it tells me how painful it is for Anakin and how sad he is and how in pain he is and how sad he is that he's just had his leg and arm cut off and how sad that he is that he's just been told that Padme is dead. I got it. I got it. I don't need you to then spend pages explaining this to me in some artsy-fartsy, strange metaphor monologue.
So when it says you did it, you killed her finally because when you could have saved her, finally, when you could have saved her, when you could have gone away with her, when you could have been thinking about her, you were only thinking about yourself. Nothing.
Yes, we got
There
that
was nothing for
multiple
you there.
times throughout
You
the
felt
story.
nothing there. Like, it was like that was there to elicit an emotional response. Did you feel nothing there?
I did when those
And then it
events
further
and
elaborates.
everything.
It is an amazing moment that you finally understand the trap of the dark side and the cruelty of the self, because now your self is all you will ever
I'm just
have.
gonna edit all this part out of this review because we were done at like 2 hours in, and you've kept this going for 35 minutes. You asked me my opinion. You've asked me my opinion.
2 hours in, and then
You,
and then we started on this.
You've asked me my opinion. I've given my opinion. We're done.
But where do you get where yourself is all you will ever have?
The moment where he meditated and thought only of himself earlier, and all of his actions throughout the film being about himself trying to save Padme and acting very selfishly all throughout the story. Every moment
So
of
it's not
Anakin
a
in
hat
episode
on top
3.
of a hat. It's the stone on top. It's the point on top of the pyramid.
It's telling you how you should feel. And that's what I don't like about it. It's very
telling us
overt.
how he feels.
Which I already know because I read the events of the story. It's like for the people in the it's like for the cheap seats in the back, or for the babies reading it that didn't fucking get it. It's like, guys, just so we're all on the same page, this is what's happening right now, and Anakin feels really sad and angry. I'm like, yeah, I got it.
Or
I got it.
here's
Thanks.
something written poetically in a way to elicit an emotion response to enjoy crows. Because
Maybe you just don't pick up on subtext because you didn't in Andor. In that final episode.
If you've made it this far, you're probably pretty fond of the verbosity of this book at this point. I got to throw that out there.
Yeah, but I was listening to it because we were doing a review. Now we're doing a full-blown fucking argument like we always like to do at the end of our streams for the last half hour, which pointlessly pads the video out. Can I get to some comments, please, JX? Thank you. Oh, my word. If you're new to the channel, this is not new for us. We start out... This was meant to be a celebration of the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith. Now I feel like shoving Revenge of the Sith up your ass.
Wait, hang on.
Bathsime says,
I don't know what that word is.
Bathsime says, odd question, but you're not Sue, are you? I was listening to something on myths in hunter-gatherer societies, and the guy speaking sounded exactly like JX.
I don't know who Sue is. What?
It's Native Americans. It's a Native American dude.
Oh, another term for Dakota. Oh no, yeah, no, it's the people. They were the natives of Dakota. No, I have something in me on my mother's side, but we were very we weren't the ones that like the when it's not we I'm so white. But way back on that side in the corner of my family tree, we were on the East Coast. We weren't the ones that got like destroyed in Thanksgiving. We were the ones that we got fucked up later. We got some smallpox blankets at some point. That's good. That's good.
You might have something in you, but
yeah, no, I'm burnt out, man. I haven't had a drink since in about 2 months.
Bath Time says I actually rate it
right now.
Bath Time says I actually rate it in Pirates of the Caribbean 2 when they do basically that, explain to the viewer what's going on. No. Exposition's very different.
I would explain in Pirates of the Caribbean 2. What the fuck is actually no? What's going on in Pirates of the Caribbean 3? I wish we had a book like this. Continue.
Yeah, exposition's fine. I'm fine with exposition. Sometimes it's necessary. It can be handled in a very good way, and it can be handled in a very, very, very exceptionally poor way. My issue with this book isn't exposition. Like that's not my problem. It's the fact of it would be like, okay, let's stick with Pirates of the Caribbean 2. God, I haven't watched this movie for a long time. Okay. Davy Jones opens the chest at the end. He needs to make sure that the heart of Davy Jones is still in the chest and that Jack Sparrow hasn't done away with it. He opens the chest, revealing no heart in there. Davy Jones spits and shouts to the sky, "Damn you, Jack Sparrow." If Matthew Stover was doing the novelization of that, right after it would have, "This is how it feels to be..."
No, I'm sorry. No. I know exactly how Matthew Stover would write it. It's empty. Like that would be the first 2 words of that chapter. It's empty, just like his chest, just like his soul or something. It would be very... I'm with you on this one, right? I know, I interrupted you again. I really should stop doing that.
Matthew Stover would write, "This is how it feels to be Davy Jones." He opened the chest and he is really angry and mad that Jack Sparrow may have stolen his heart. The heart of Davy Jones that was meant to be in the chest that belonged to Davy Jones. Davy Jones is really angry about Jack Sparrow in this moment. That's what Matthew Stover... That's how the Revenge of the Sith novel reads. And it goes on for fucking pages.
No, it isn't.
And it's like, it's
that's
pointless.
How... No, it isn't, Chris. It really isn't. Like, it's not like it's you've got it like this list of things, like, this is what is happening. This is how it is. This is... No, it's got go get a little poetic with it. This isn't the chronicle of the wars after the deaths, the wars of Westeros after the death of King Robert Baratheon, first of his name.
Well, I'm sorry that I didn't dress it up with flowery language, but my point is the intention behind it is to tell you what you've already read the character doing in the moment, and give your fucking reader credit that they can pick up on shit like that. You don't just have to explain it over waffly paragraphs, and you get to the end of the paragraph and you feel like you haven't...
They're fun to read.
And this is it, the review. In your opinion, they are, and that's fine. And I'm not taking that away from you. If you read and processed the book that way and you like the additions of those...
Chris, I'm not trying to take away your opinion either.
It sounds like you are for the last half hour.
To defend my own.
That's fine.
You're here shitting on the style and speaking about... And I'm saying you're getting parts wrong. Like with The Last Jedi, your argument relies on getting...
Don't go there, because that is not in your defense at all to say to bring up The Last Jedi as a positive point right now. That is not in your defense. Okay, I said to you, if you like many times about 40 minutes ago, if you like the additions of those, that's fine. You've argued why you like it. Don't pick up on that, and I don't like that. You asked for my review on the book. I gave you my review on the book, and you're like, "No, Chris, that's not good enough. You should have this." Fuck you. I didn't like that bit in the book. That's fine. We differ again on Star Wars. You like
the bit in the book, but when you're saying this is what the bit in the book is, and I'm saying no, it isn't.
You're speaking in absolutes, and that's a Sith thing to do. You should stop that.
So are you.
Right. Where can they find you?
Also, that statement is an absolute.
Where can they find you? I'm ending this shit right now.
It's just that one. Everybody here has been to the channel, has been to one of our reviews. They've seen this.
We assume. If you like what you saw here tonight...
Well, you're really big on assuming that what they've seen, what people have seen. I would, give them all the context that they need going in with a fresh pair of eyes. But this is part of a series.
Please do consider subscribing to the channel for more movie reviews, discussions, and live streams. I will be live streaming tomorrow with Dale. We'll be continuing Don Bluth retrospective, and we'll be talking about Bartok the Magnificent. An incredibly short film, which is only 60 minutes long. I watched this earlier today, so I'm all prepared for that review. Tuesday, I will be going live as well, because the new Mission Impossible's out, so I will do a quick live stream giving my opinions on that movie after I'm fresh out of it. That's probably going to be a later stream. That might be around, maybe 10:30 kind of time, 10:45 p.m. And then after we've emotionally recovered, we will be back on Thursday discussing Rogue One.
It's empty. The chest was empty. His voice echoed off of the walls of the empty chest. Chest. The word. It means a vessel, and yet it could also be referring to his chest. Hearts are contained in chests, whether they're in the chest of a person or the chest buried underground made of wood with a lock and key.
Thank you, Matthew Stover. Bath Time says, based off this, I can't believe you haven't answered my email. I know, dude. I'm shit at replying. I'm so bad. I've had so much on with work and stuff. I was watching Eurovision at a mate's house yesterday. That was all my Saturday gone after work. I have not forgotten. I've actually got half term coming up soon. In like
you could have watched the entire
2 weeks.
Joseph Campbell video during this stream. You could have watched the entire thing during this.
Bath Time.
I'm trying to get. I've got a video for him to watch for you because it gives him all the information he needs to reply to that email. I think if it's I've heard it from the periphery.
The fact of the matter is, I've been absolutely stacked with content. Like the content for tonight's video, I had to listen to a full audiobook. I'm having to watch all Don Bluth films. I'm having to do everything in the week and fit it in between everything else. I've got school reports to do. It's a fucking nightmare at the moment. So bear with me for the next couple of weeks. I'll get half-term week off and we can plan a day. I'll email you when I get some time, but I need to get all my reports done first. That's going to take most of my time, I'm afraid. Bath Time says, did you know that Tom Cruise is the same age as Ian McKellen in Fellowship of the Ring in the new Mission Impossible? I mean, that's just the power of Hollywood right there, isn't it? My word.
He really?
Right.
No, wait. How old was Ian McKellen during Lord of the Rings?
In his 60s, probably.
Oh, okay. You see, I gotta be. He's been 80 since he was like 50.
Yes, he has.
I mean,
since he was 20.
Put it perfectly. Yeah, no. My roommate put it perfectly. I've been playing men your age since I was in high school.
Right, guys, we're going to round it off here. I've got to go do some practicing. It's
I thought you were going to round it off while I was doing the fake Matt Stover.
I was tempted to. I mean, we could have rounded this off 45 minutes ago, but here we are.
Drag it out so you could.
Dragging it out.
Oh my God. Okay, you know what?
We'll see you next time.